this lecture was so impacted to me. After 15 days, I and 3 friends went to his farm in Bahia, Atlantic Forest. It was in 94. In that year, I was studying agronomy. And since that time, I'm following the steps of Ernst. I worked in Amazon 3 years, then I invited him to go there. I went to Bolivia with them in 2002. And all this time when I meet him, it's like the first class. Because his knowledge is so deep about nature that it's unbelievable. It's his brilliant mind and how he started. This journey to Costa Rica. To me, it's symbolic too, because here Ernst started working in maybe 75, 40 years ago. He left Swiss. First time he came to Brazil. Then he saw in Swiss. He was
he used to improve biology.
to improve grasses in a government agency in Swiss. Genetic, yes. And but another researcher invited him to come to Brazil. Then he decided to come. But when he saw the destruction of forests in Brazil, he went to Paraná. Paraná is a state, the soils is the best soils of Brazil, volcanic soils, basalt, and he saw huge trees, big, and wagons, just 1 tree by wagon was transported by train. Ernst became sick at that time. He stopped in a hospital in Brazil, and he decided, oh, my work, what I'm doing in Swiss, this is the forests. I can't save the forests doing this work. Then he decided to go to another place. Then he came to Costa Rica and started 1 year. He taught Nicaragua's refugees.
Nicaraguan refugees.
Yes, by 1 year. Then the war stopped in Nicaragua. These people start coming back. Then another friend of him decided to go, invite him to go to Brazil. Since that time, Ernst started planting 800 hectares. Is the most green. The government agency one day, many years ago, went to his farm, and these people from government, they wanted to know. We using satellite, and we see that we are seeing that your place is becoming green, the most dark green in all Atlantic Forest. What are you doing? I'm just planting. But when I met him in his farm 25 years ago, and now it was a huge evolution in his knowledge, how nature, how forests work, how they recycling everything, and it's completely.
And he's still recycling the knowledge.
Yes.
Still keeping.
Because of this, it's so difficult to understand, because all the time concepts sometimes change because it's immature. Immature science. And you don't have any book about principles. Just the lectures of Ernst and his students. So it's difficult we have progress. And people like you is very, very important. You need to multiply this knowledge in your place. You need to, but the first thing that you need to do, you need to construct your forest, to show to others. But just speech, it's not enough. Agriculturists, they are very, como se fala operacional? Operational people. practical people. They need to see. If they can't see, they don't start. So this is our challenger. After this workshop, you need to plant. Even if you don't plant the best agroforest, it's much better that we have in this world now. Just monoculture. If you put plants together and just prune at the right time, the nature will do the rest.
I have one challenge to put up for you guys. 1 square meter. If you can do in your lifetime, that's good. You can do 1 square meter a month, a year. It's even better if you can do 1 square meter a day. Because we go by, we teach a lot of people, and if each one of us do 1 square meter, it's your own classroom for you guys to learn and practice it. 1 square meter at a time, we get there. That's much. Anything else you want to
And
say?
this is what Thiago says is very, very important, because there is a great disease that affects the agroforesters. This disease is like, oh, you finish this workshop, you come back to your land, oh, I will start again, we plant 1 hectare, we plant a huge area. Then you don't have time to manage. Then you lose this area, and then people say, oh, this is not function, this is not works. So it's much better you start a small place, high density, then you can manage it. You can see the answer of the plants. Then you start another small area, then another, because it's important. Quanto mais perfeito,
More perfect it is.
more perfect it is, more faster you transform the landscape. You have less work if you do a small area perfect, all strata, all plants, all seeds that I could put together. You don't have to weed, because you plant the correct plants in the correct place, then all the place will covered in soon all the place will covered with plants. You don't need to cut to weed. It's not necessary. You just go there, harvest that you need because you plant food, and at that time you prune. Every time that you go to forest, you go to harvest, and at that time you prune, or you go just to prune. You don't need to weed. It's not necessary.
Or fertilize it.
Yes, you don't need to fertilize like here. This is the paradise. It's completely different from my soil. The land that I work, the age of the soil is 2 billion of years. 2 billion. You don't have disposable available minerals. They are there, but the microorganisms are not. The land was degraded, completely degraded. I need to bring back microorganisms, but not just microorganisms. I need to plant something. I planting grass. Andropogum is a brave grass from Africa. It resists 9 months without any drop of rain. 9 months. And my place, 5 months is common. 5 months without rain. 6 months. And with this climate changing, we need to find these brave plants. But now we have full of life with this. It's so easy to construct here.
When he got here yesterday, it was so much fun. Like we were like 2 kids. Oh, look at that! Oh my God! Look at that! It's like Amazon. Look at that! Oh my God! And then for us to get the names in English and translate it was so much fun. Like, and I hope that you guys get bitten by this bug as well, and we help us because we are still a lot of plants in your area that's not on any books and we don't know how they perform. Who knows? Are the old farmers or the old forests where they are? And that's why we're here to learn together. We don't know everything, but everything that we know, we're trying to pass it on to you guys. Anything else? No? Okay. My name is Thiago Barbosa. I decided to... My great-grandmother used to be to live out of the land. It was beautiful growing up and see her harvesting one cassava and planting 5. Always getting 1 and planting 5. Getting 1 lemon and planting 5. And that's how I grew up. And for me that was normal, you know, like go for dinner on Sundays and choose to kill the chicken and then like harvest the corn, get pamonha, curau, like get this like old people, like get cassava, crush it, make cassava flour, make tapioca. And tapioca wasn't even trendy at the time, so that's how I grew up, you know. Like, and then as there a lot of people here, we went back to city and moved to Australia to learn English. Never learned it properly, never came back as well. So been there for 12 years, and 6-7 years ago, all my friends were permaculturists. I live in the Northern Rivers where Jeff Lawton lives as well. It's permaculture driven. Everyone talks about organic food, the yoga retreats all over the place, and it's all it's a lifestyle growing food there. And I started learning. But as I grew up as a stockbroker and as a marketing director of companies, and I couldn't see that scaling. I could see permaculture as like, okay, I do that as a hobby, but I wanted to learn, but never went to get into the business side of it. And then when I saw Syntropic, when a friend went to Ernst's workshop, 2000, I think that was 2009, 2010, he showed me that was in my mind, but I couldn't figure out exactly what he was doing. I knew that was different. And then when I really decided to learn, I went to Brazil, and then I started meeting, you know, when the basketball, the dream team, Michael Jordan, and then I started meeting the dream team, the guys who actually were doing it. They're not, that's why you guys don't see much of them, because they are too busy doing it. They don't have time to come and teach, because once you get bitten by the bug, you want to spend your time doing it. You know, you don't want, it's hard. That's why you don't hear much of these guys. For me to take someone to bring to us, to bring Fernando here, man, 3 months ago he said, I'd rather be here in my land, I have so much work to do. Are you sure that this guy's gonna have enough people to go? You know, like, a lot of people, they want you to do, they want you to spend time doing it. It's hard to, it's funny because I ask people, say, do you want to come to Australia? We have the Great Barrier Reef, we can skydive, we can do this. No, 5 days. 1 day in, 5 days, and I need to go back. Say, you came all the way from Brazil, you don't want to spend extra 2 days there? No. So Fernando is flying next day. In fact, he got yesterday, then he hit the ground running and flying back next day, because it is good to be practicing. Even here, after the talk that we had in 1 day, I want to go back and start doing the test that he's doing there, you know? So I fell in love. I love it. I hope that you guys should fall in love with Trophic. As he said, every time that I meet the guys, I think that I learned something. I'll go there to clarify, and then they crush my paradigm, and then that's me starting all over again. He said that Ernst explained something to you in the last workshop that's been 25 years. That he was trying, I said, okay, Ernst, the synchronizing, about the synchron, we're going to talk about that, but, and then it's just clarified 25 years later, you know. That's still a lot of things, and I hope that you guys fall in love and help us, because that is, as I was talking to you, she's an accountant, said we need accountants because we're too busy doing, and we don't keep track on the financial side, you know. And the first question that every farmer asks is that financial viable, you know. And that's we need people from all walks of life with all the experience that you have to chip in, and that's what creates abundance. Everyone gives what they have, and then we all together can work as a living organism. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Thank you. Sorry for the little bit longer introduction here, but it would be good for you guys to know who you're learning from. A little bit more about my experience. I am in Brazil every 6 months for a month and a half every year, and to catch up with the dream team. And then I bring one teacher twice a year as well to Australia to learn from them, to spend a month with them in our properties there. So it's pretty much 4 to 6 months of the year I'm learning, and the rest of the time I'm teaching. and I had a farm. I sold it. I'm working for the Hare Krishna community. They are the biggest, one of the biggest entities in the world. They have 500 farms around the world, and they give food away for free every day. And they fall in love with Syntropy as well. And I'm teaching them how to grow food all over the world, and it's pretty much a charity. I'm giving more because I feel that they are the ones who will spread it as well. So thank you for your time, for being here. I'm really, really, really excited. Like I didn't sleep last night properly. I was so excited, seriously. I was so happy to see. 3:45 I was already up, like waiting for the sun to come up.
No, it was already 2.
Huh?
It was already 2 that
Yeah.
you were up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, can you see? We were so early and so excited and to catch up with Fernando and see what's the, and we want to share as much as we can, okay? So program-wise, let's go on. Any questions about our experience and anything else that you guys want to know up to this point? Yeah?
I'm just curious, like where you're living, where both you guys are living, how much land are you kind of each personally managing currently with the Syntropic systems that you're doing?
Depends if you have machines. No?
No, what are you managing at the moment?
At the moment.
What is the area that you're working?
In two years ago, we create a research institution because I work to government. And then near of the boundary of the protected area that I worked, appeared a Buddhist center, and they create an NGO. And with this NGO, we create a cooperation term. Cooperative term.
Yeah.
Yes. And this cooperative term, I can work in this land and training agricultures around the protected area, offering a new way to because deforestation is so fast in savannah, in Brazilian savannah. Andrea said that the size of Costa Rica is
51
yes, square kilometers, no? And the Cerrado was destroyed, Sisi, when I was working, 2002, 55,000 square kilometers by year.
How many?
Yes, 55,000 square kilometers by year was destroyed to plant commodities.
Okay. First thing that I noticed when we got here, everyone was trying to get to the shade. Huh? Yes, we are living organisms. We are living organisms. We want to be cool. We want to be in a place where it's comfortable for us. So does every other living organism. Every tree has a space and time. Every living organism has a condition to be alive. And then sometimes you get to a place where you find this. You buy a piece of land, and then you say, yeah, I'm gonna create my farm, and I'm moving to the farm, and then you get there and say, that's what you've got. You know, sometimes it's worse. Don't think that's bad. Sometimes you find worse things. And then you say, what are you gonna do? You're gonna sell your farm? What is the solution for this? Okay, if we can't think out of the box, think what nature will do. How nature will deal with this? Anyone can tell me? Yeah, what's gonna happen?
Great organisms.
Yeah, they start, which type of grass will come? The really tough ones, the ones that everyone hates, isn't it? Yeah, so imagine if you want to create your citrus orchard. Say, oh man, I love citrus. Citrus is good market for it now. I can sell for X amount of money per truckload. And then you get there and say, oh my God, that's what I'm dealing with. What am I gonna do? Some people here want to produce cacao. And where is cacao from? Where does cacao grow naturally? Not here. Imagine if you put a cacao by itself here, what's the space for cacao? 7, 8 meters? Imagine if you put every 8 meters here, cacao. That's how we do reforestation. Some people here work with reforestation. That's what you do. You make a hole, put one tree every 5-6 meters, 1 by 1 or 5 by 5, put a lot of water, pray, and hope that the tree survives. Yeah? And when you come back, you might have 20% success or even less sometimes. Yes? What do you do? Like, I want you guys to feel it. Like, I want you guys to try to grab some of this soil. That actually it is a luxury. The soil is too good, actually. It's just compacted. But we get to a place where it's not that good. But let's imagine you end up, you buy a land in Arizona. Well, I was there last year, I went to Grand Canyon. You see sand and cactus. What are the elements that's growing there? And you see, actually, if you leave nature alone, like the species, they never go one species of grass. It's always their friends, the whole gang come with them. You know, it's never one. It's always a lot of elements above the ground and below ground as well that will come to do. So if I take this and I press it, life bounds together, you know? Like a family, life likes to be together. So if I bound it, then let's say that's my crop. I'm planting here, and I'm gonna put a lot of fertilizer, bring all the energy from outside, and then I plant. And then I plant corn, and I do my first harvesting. Oh, I lost a lot of nutrients, I lost a lot of soil. And the rain comes, and I don't have any ground cover, and I plant it again. Oh, I lost a lot. Eventually, I will end up with nothing. And that's the way that we deal with agriculture. We get to a place, we bring everything that we need, all the inputs, chicken manure, cow manure, fertilizer, let's bring it. And then from there we put 1 ton per hectare of anything. By the end of your harvesting, you have 0.3 of that nutrients that you imported from somewhere else. And that's the direction opposite of life. So if you guys want to take some of this soil and carry in your hand so we can compare at the end of the walk. Let's walk. We're gonna move Scott. Where is Scott? Yeah, we're gonna move all the way to the forest where the guy was working yesterday. Gonna lead us the way. Oh, how hard it is to get this soil, huh? Imagine, hard. And yeah, let's keep moving. If you guys can get some of this soil, smell it. Try to smell this soil. If you guys see, so there is no smell. And look, if you look closely, there are some rocks. Definitely, there are some minerals. But where is the micro life? What else can you guys observe just by looking to this soil here? Sense it, all the sense, touching it, smell it.
Moist.
It is moist because we are in the Amazon, no? Yeah, we are in the middle of the rain season, but it's too good, but it's bad. Okay? We could have been worse. We could meet life, so that's how we meet in life today. But could have been worse. We could meet life where you live, like in Ecuador, that's really, really dry. Isn't it? I was driving there, like really, really dry. And I said there is a banana plantation, but the guys import a lot of all the nutrients. It needs to come every year so they can keep life alive. And nature has its own pace, has its own time, and sometimes it's not our time, you know? And every other element here is working, like the grass, the shade, the birds, everyone's working, everyone's aware that needs to be recovered. But we keep driving, keep parking the car, and we don't let life move forward. Anything else that you want to add? Quer adicionar alguma coisa?
On my land is worse than this. But Ernst all the time says, there is no weak land, there is no
Bad soil.
It lost its fertility, but we can bring again. The minerals are there. For example, in my land, we have minerals for 60 million phosphorus for 60 million years to do agriculture. We have potassium. How do you say potassium?
Potassium.
Potassium for 40 million years to do agriculture. But if I plant a corn, if I plant anything, just cassava is strong. But I need to. But if I plant cassava here, not here, in my land, without any
Fertilizer.
cassava, will grow up, but it can't produce a
Decent
root, a
root.
good root. So the minerals are there, but they're not
They're not available.
bioavailable. So then with this work, they will start available again. They will start.
Yeah, nature will make that available, but few other elements need to be in place to play that role of making it available, okay? So let's keep moving a little bit forward. Yeah, actually before we go, can you just go a little bit further? So I want to show them how life is performing a little bit more. Okay. Okay. Guys, can you come faster, please? If you want to. I want you guys to try to grab some of the soil. If it was hard there, here is still a little bit hard because life is trying. There is less disturbance here. There is no heavy cars. Someone's calling you. Time to wake up, brother.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so try to grab some of this soil here. If you can keep some of the other one and keep some of these in your hand too. Look, when I try to put my machete here, it's hard. It doesn't go. Imagine if I put a lettuce here to grow. If I put a red cedar here. So there are plants that need to be here now. And they need their friends as well to eventually keep moving from there to here. But let's try to take this soil here, if you can, and see the difference. What do we see? What's the difference? Smell it. That is smell. Can you see if you want to smell it? Pass it around, smell it, hold it. See if you see microlife around it. You see bacteria, roots. So wherever you guys want to get from where you guys are now, if you don't work with the natural processes of life, you need to bring this energy from somewhere else. You know, to move from there to here. That's not actually ideal for any sort of crop that we want. Still not good yet. But can you see how life has a direction of movement if you stop disturbing it on the wrong way? So what will happen if we leave this alone? Life will go back to there? Or will life will keep moving forward? And that is a natural process. You know, this natural process depends on elements, different elements, made of different shapes, all working towards a direction of movement. Always moving towards more what? Abundance. Because if we move backwards on that, if we keep moving on that direction, then we're going to end up in a semi-desert. We're going to move towards scarcity. So we're moving towards abundance. If you can feel the difference of the smells, you smell that one, smell this one, now the other one. There is no smell at all.
No.
Yeah? You see that there is more life. You can sense it. Life bounds together. There is more bonding, you know. There is more elements. It's still not good enough. If I take my liver by itself, you know, it's a living organism. It functions, but we need the whole living organism for me to fulfill my function. Make sense? So let's keep moving forward.
There is a
Yeah.
crucial difference there from this place. And for example, in my land, I have places that we have a plant of grass here, nothing, just soil, mineral soil, another plant there, and we don't have this. Here we don't have this transitional. We left the desert, no plants, no roots, just soil, and we came into another place with roots. This is a big difference because root is the marketplace.
How many years evolution do you reckon that it is naturally, if it was naturally to happen?
From colonization, for example, Craig, a friend from Hawaii, he sent to me a picture, and in this place there was a eruption of lava in 1960. 1960, how today is 69 years ago. Yes?
Yes.
59.
59.
59, yes, 59 years ago. Today, we have just one species of tree occupying, colonizing this field of lava. It's a myrtaceae. It's the same family of the fruit tree there. And 59 years, nature established just one type of tree. It's a process. You know, in Hawaii, for example, he says that Hawaii has the best soils of the world, but with the English that came, they see the native producing lots of fruits, lots of a complex system. Oh, these guys, they are very good agricultors. Let's take them to produce fruits to us. Just one type of fruit, sugar cane, pastures. They kill the land. But
Man, I
let's
gotta
say
wake up, brother.
The minerals are there. If we bring roots,
Sleepy as hell.
if we bring plants, the minerals are available again. Roots is because of this, we need to establish roots. If you don't have roots, you don't have micro. You don't have. If you don't have microlife, you don't have a desert. Then you need to use pesticides, everything that you know in monoculture. And agriculture is not he's not guilty. I think that the agriculture today, big farmers, small farmers, they are hostages of this process of destruction.
Can you explain to them what you're trying to say to me about taking, quando você abre espaço para bactéria, para disease, o que acontece no living organism? Como que é o processo que acontece? That was like, for me, was like next level, you know, jumping next level again.
It's like we have in Brazil a researcher. Her old now is 99 years old. Ana Primavera. She's very old now, and almost 100 years old. And she researched like Elaine Hingham, but I think Elaine Hingham moved forward than Primavera because Elaine Hingham discovered many things that Primavera with the technology of Brazil can't to do this. And she says in this video, we put into everybody saw that video.
It's really important. I really want you guys to watch that one.
Every root has we call biocenosis. Biocenosis is the community of fungi and bacteria and the other organisms, more bigger organisms. But this part, bacteria and fungi,
Around the roots?
they live around the roots. There's the first trophic level. The first trophic level, bacteria and fungi. Then we have the second trophic level, the third, the fourth. But the second eats the bacteria and fungi. And the second level when they eat these bacteria, and bacteria and fungi, they are created by the roots, by the exudates. Exudate. The roots exudate, and the bacteria and fungi eat them and procreate and raise. Then the second trophic levels, nematodes, protozoas, they eat. And when they eat, como se fala resíduos?
The residues.
The residuos are disposable minerals to plants. So when we plant a monoculture, we don't have the second, because we don't have food to the we destroy it. We harvest the grains today. The field
It's empty.
is empty, and everybody dies. If you have a life, just bacteria can survive. Another field, another microorganism. There is a work made by a Brazilian researcher, Self-Reliance. He wrote an article. Then he's a phytopathologist. Phytopathologist?
I think so.
Yes. And he said, Brazil loves beans like Costa Rica. We eat a brown bean, not black bean. We have black beans too. And it's a huge culture, it's a huge plantation. And today we spread sometimes 9 times
We
of
spread-
pesticides. And when we irrigate, we have a reeled systems, like other countries. We spread sometimes 14 times pesticides. Then we kill all the, we have mofo branco. Mofo branco is a fungi disease in beans. Then we spread a fungicide. Then kill all the types of fungus. Then we need more pesticides. Then Self-Reliance made the work that, no, stop fungicide. We don't use it. We just use it in that part that we have a level damage. Just there, not in 100 hectares, just there to control. What happened? The benefit fungi grow up again and control the bed. For example, 90 and 99 and 4 are beneficial fungi. Just 0.04 is bad. But we are combating the bad, but this is a narrow part, like bacteria, all these biocenosis, all these, they are complex, they are like a galaxy. When you go to the bathroom and we do the number 2, we left them 10 billion of microorganisms. Eat every day. When you go, every day. Some people go twice. This is the correct. And can you imagine 10 billion microorganisms? And there is a book in the market now that's saying that we are just 10% human beings. 90% are microorganisms inside of us. There are microorganisms that control activating genes
Genes.
in the DNA of us. We have microorganisms inside of us. We just, this is the crucial point.
So
in this story.
what happened when you take a forest from
Yes,
a tree from the
you
forest?
left these microorganisms when domesticated the plant. We
And
go to another place. This is another fail. We needed to create this plant far from the microorganism that this plant has a coevolution, thousands of years coevoluting together, and now we need to create another microorganisms. We take plants from everywhere from the planet and plant here. You can see here citrus, mangosteen, lots of plants that they are not from here. And this is the crucial point. We don't need to use fertilizer. We need to produce food to these microorganisms. Then bacteria and fungi, they will produce acids. They produce acids they como se fala, solubilizar, they will make it solúvel.
Solubilize, they make it soluble.
Yeah, soluble, the nutrients. Then the second level trophic eat these bacteria and fungi. So then we have the nutrients. But to make they soluble, they need bacteria and fungi. Because of that, we can't use pesticides and we can't use salt like agrochemicals, like soluble fertilizers. Because they don't know how to do with the salt. Can you imagine inside of the soil? They don't have protection against this osmosis.
Yeah.
Because we have a concentrated salt, urea or any kind of agrochemical, and put inside of the soil. They suck the water of these microorganisms. They kill them. Because of that, we can't use it. Even if you use chicken manure, we need to use it less. And this is the problem. When we have a desert, you want to plant a citrus, you want to plant an avocado or any kind of fruit, they are not from a desert. They are from a forest. And in the classroom, you see this graph. Then we need to put manure. We need to eat today. But I bought a land, I bought a desert. I bought a farm. It was cheap, but it was destroyed. It's common, eh? It's cheap because somebody destroyed it and send now cheap because it produces nothing. But you need to use manure. But it's better use small
Quantities?
quantities many times, just instead of a great quantity. Because insects are trophic. More than fungi, bacteria and insects, they don't have enzymes, you know? It's correct, enzymes?
Yeah.
What are enzymes? They are, como se fala,
Catalyzers.
catalyzers. They are like enzymes, are like scissors. Inside of our mouth, we have 3-4 enzymes to cut the starch to produce glucose. Insects, fungi, and bacteria, they don't have it. They don't have it. They have a few enzymes. So they need free amino acids inside of the plant. And when we put soluble agrochemical, soluble fertilizers, we have the production of sap, the production of the roots, the roots to produce proteins and everything inside of the plant. Imagine a factory of cars. It's the line of production proteins inside of the plants.
A factory of cars.
Of cars. We are producing a car. Imagine it. It's like a factory of producing cars. The line of, then we put tires, we put the
roof,
the thing. But inside of the plant, we construct proteins. But to construct proteins, you need amino acids. Then plants start production amino acids. But plants absorb a huge quantity of nitrogen. Then it will produce amino acids. Oh, I need boron, I need other minerals. Oh, they have. Then we produce a huge quantity of amino acids. Then insects, fungi, bacteria, they detect this. Oh, that plant, there is no balance there. There are a huge quantity of amino acids. We don't have enzymes to cut proteins, complex proteins. So let's get them. That small, a huge quantity of amino acids. Then they go there and start sucking, eating. You can see leaf cutting ants. It's very common in my country. We have a broken branch of avocado. Then many trees here, and a nest of ants, 20 meters. The ants climbed the avocado and start cutting the branch that was broken. Why? Because inside of the leaves start a process we call proteolysis. We are breaking inside of the process. Fungi, bacteria, they are breaking the proteins. This is better to the fungi that ants are cultivating. It's better to fungi because fungi they don't have so much enzymes. Then it's better this leaf that is como que é murcha,
Like dried or
dry and in a process
of decomposition.
of breaking proteins is better to the fungi. Then the ants realize this and catch this. And realize the ants, they are like our inspectors. Fungi, bacteria, insects, all this life, they are like inspectors of our plantation. They show to us our mistakes. They are not bandits, they are just a messenger. And what we do, we kill the messenger. Yes. Whoa, there is appearing lots of grass here. What's the messenger? What's the message? You forgot to plant something there. You forgot. Then nature uses the tools that it has.
How did you call them today?
The Department of Life Optimization. Yes, all these insects, fungi, bacteria, they are our friends. And this is one principle when you go to your plantation, to the field, and you see that. This is one of the most important and one of the most difficult to change inside our mind. Because we learned that a cockroach, an insect, all these are plagues, we must to kill them. It's very difficult to change. You see, oh, let's go to, and if you depends of economically of that plant, it's more stronger that decision. Oh, I not kill. I have a friend, 7-8 years fighting with ants, and she refused to use any kind of agrochemicals to kill the ants. And now, finally, she found a solution. They stopped it. She produced vegetables to sell vegetables. Inside in the nests, we have when the ants are strong, they have many, como se fala, many olheiros. The nest is not located just in one place. The same nest. Oh, there is a hole there. Then he concentrates all the biomass. He plants things that ants don't like, titonia, other plants. This is the last thing that she did that ants stopped cutting their plants.
Putting plants that they don't like in place.
But lots of biomass
Okay.
in the holes of the ants. Because what they are doing? They are concentrating life. Are cutting avocado, citrus. They are concentrating like termites. We have, I show to you a good, perfect example. Termites, when the soil is compacted, then termites, it's better to termites because the galleries is not collapsing. They can't collapse because the soil is so hard, termites can open the galleries, construct the nests. We have in my place like this. Then a friend started if you don't let the cattle, you close the pasture, what happened? Around the termites, the grass become more green because there are more phosphorus around the nests. Then we planted in high density trees, cassava, passion fruit, and banana. After 3-4 years, this nest collapsed. And we have a huge trees now, after 10 years. I repeated this experiment. I planted pumpkins, cassava, in 27 nests and concentrate all the grass of the pasture. Near and around the nest, we plant a high density trees. We create islands of high biodiversity without manure. Just nature is saying to us, oh, I'm doing my job. If you want to help me, then we help the termites. We concentrate because what termites eat?
Like no.
lignin, cellulose. Oh, we put thousands of celluloses there and plant it. They don't kill, they don't cut the trees. But if I forget to plant, if I forget to concentrate biomass, they start eating the bark of my eucalyptus. They start eating the bark of my jackfruit. They are my inspectors. They said to me, my work is better than you are doing. But if I don't forget all the time, after 2 months, 3 months, oh, the grass grow up again, I cut the grass, prune some trees, put around of my trees. Then the inspector said, oh, this is better. Don't kill your tree. This is the point. All these insects, all these microorganisms, they are messengers. Then when arrive in our fields, we need to ask, what are you doing of good? What are you doing of good?
So pretty much there is a direction of movement that the termites, the ants, any elements that we might call pests or bad guys into our crops, they are there to work in the same direction that life is moving, okay? Like the termites, if you leave them alone, it might take 30, 50 years, 100 years, but that they will restore that piece of land. That's why they build pockets around, and if you leave, as he said, the grass is greener, you get to a point where quantity and quality of consolidated life will establish on that thing, and then once the termites did their job, they will go away. They already done the job.
The microclimate changed. They termites, oh,
I don't have a
not good
function.
for us here. They die.
They move away, they go to somewhere else, or they die.
No, the conditions is not good to them. Then, oh, just this, they can't, high humidity.
It's not for
We
them,
create a high humidity. Then the nest make like this, poof.
and they die.
And today we can see the whole of the
I went to see the one that Oswaldinho did there. I went to see that.
The first work that was Valdinho.
Yeah, I did. I went to see that. It's beautiful. Now it's a lush forest, like where was a termite, not 10 years, 15 years now that he did.
10 years.
10 years, there is a red cedar with wild ginger around. It's like a lush pocket of forest just by using the natural processes of life. He didn't put any fertilizer, he just used what was around and worked with the natural processes of life. Basically, I want to bring this on now because we're talking about bacteria, we're talking about fungi, and the the explanation that he gave me this morning was when you're not working with the processes of life, when you don't have all the living organisms, you open a window, you open a gap for all these fiscalizers come in and check, oh, you're not doing a good job, and then they come and start working with the natural process on their own time. And then if you leave it alone, they will balance the system. Might take 1, 10, 100 years, but they will balance the ecosystem and keep moving with nature. And one thing that I like to say every time is every element here, they're serving life. They're serving. It's not about one element, it's about life itself. And everyone is working towards keeping life alive, bringing more complexity, bringing more diversity to keep life alive and to bring more living organisms so more life can live in balance. So let's keep moving so we can, yeah, one more thing before, sorry.
We can, the nature, like Thiago says now, the nature can solve the conflicts, but it can solve if it doesn't lose its resilience. And what is resilience? Resilience. Resilience is the capacity, if you have a disturb, then the place can come back at the same point before the disturb. And we have now, in many places, I don't know if nature can come back at the same point. There is an article, and it was wrote in Germany, 100 years ago, they had a land, they cultivated anything, grass, a cultivated land. 100 years ago, they plant native trees. They did a reforestation. Then in 2002, after 100 years, they came to that land and made a research to looking for the microorganisms, compare with a test witness, a place that was all the time a primary forest. There were gaps of microorganisms, decompositores, saprófitas.
The composers organisms.
There wasn't. There were, because after 100 years.
Because they didn't put all the elements
No,
in
because
place.
when they are cultivating, I think the big tragedy, we don't lose just the aerial, the biodiversity that you can see. We lose the biodiversity inside the soil when we destroy a place, because all this microlife dies. They don't have food. Because of this, roots they produce food to the microorganisms. Because of this high density, we plant all things in high densities, all plants, and then we see, oh, this can. The slogan of Barack Obama, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, but then they show to us who can. Oh, that is better. But I planted another 50 centimeters. But this, the same species, 1 meter. And this, 30 centimeters. Oh, the nature is showing to me, oh, this is better. Then, with machete, oh, cut this. After 2 years, 3 years, because they are small. We don't need to be afraid planting high density.
But there are places that not even eucalyptus is growing, even if it is a lot of life, but that's not the place for it, you know, and there are species that will do the work better. But go on, sorry.
Just one question related to all this. How does it relate with the soil food web between living and growing roots and dying roots? I'm mainly thinking about, like, if we plant ground covers, we plant chop and drop, nitrogen fixing densely within our agroforestry. When we go and we chop it, right, and then that all the roots that are however tall the tree is die under the soil, and then that plant starts growing back again. What's the relationship between, like, the soil food web strengthening and growing and getting stronger with us just letting it?
Yes.
Like, I'm trying to add more, like, when we chop, like in permaculture, chop and drop is like a big concept, right? I'm wondering how we're affecting the soil food web, the microorganisms, the everything, when we're chopping that, and then the roots are dying, and then starting to grow again.
Peraí, antes posso, tipo, lembra que você deu aquela explicação pro pessoal lá de Cairns, lá sobre das mangas, qual que é o processo que muda a micorriza, você pode explicar para eles?
The roots, they don't die. I made a movie to show. In 2015 I planted agroforestry, and 2 individuals, 2 meters far from the same species. 10 months ago I pruned one. I saw a beetle. A beetle was cutting the. We have this. They cut the bark. They cut the corn.
Borer beetle.
Boro?
No, the tip moth.
Serra-pau, I chamo.
Yeah, the tip moth. That's the one that the borer beetle is on. They eat the roots. The tip moth, they eat the top.
They cut the bark. They cut the inside. Then the branch break. And they put the egg in that branch, and then the eggs transform.
And then you pruned it.
Then I saw a beetle cut I cut the tree, the canopy, all the canopy. After 10 months, this tree that I cut twice, double the size, the diameter of that tree, 3 times more leaves, 3 times more branches, double of the diameter. So it has the double of the roots. Who is sustaining this real tree now. Completely different. This is the function. This is pruning is the engine of the system.
Okay.
And what happened? We prune. Every time that we see herbs, grasses flowering, they have a message to the microorganisms. And any kind of plant that is flowering, they will produce seeds. So the seeds need to
Dry.
dry inside of it. Because the seeds, almost seeds, they are dry and hard. But before, when the seeds are growing, they are smooth, they are soft.
They're soft, yeah.
So then the plant send a message to mycorrhizas, the
Mycorrhiza.
mycorrhiza, the web fungi. Before the flowering, mycorrhizas are hydrophilic. Hydrophilic, philos from Latin and Greek, philos is friend. Hydro is water, friend of water. Then the mycorrhizas capture water inside the soil to the plant. But when plant starts producing seeds, he needs to dry the seeds. Then plants send another information to
Mycorrhiza.
mycorrhiza, oh, stop capturing water. I don't need more water. Then mycorrhiza becomes hydrophobic. Hydrophobic is, como se fala a versão?
Opposite.
Opposite of, no, stop, I don't need water. Then stop capturing water to the plant. And it's like, I say that's like a hormonal information. Because when we have trees that are dying here, that are old, and if you, the explanation of Lenny Hingen, he has a picture from the desert to the primary forest. We have much more bacteria in the desert than the fungi. And then when this progress to become primary forest, fungi is
Higher.
higher. She said that we need 25,000 types of bacteria and 75,000 of fungi types in a good soil. And the natural succession in the aerial part happened too in the underground. Then when we cut a tree, we stop this information. One, the plant is dying, or the grass flourish. Oh, wait, no, the grass flourish, we have flooring. Here, this. Oh, this is Cyperaceus, okay? It's flowering. Then it passed this information to everybody now. It stops the growing. It stopped. It's growth. It stopped now because it's flowering. But I come here and cut this. And thank you very much to produce this biomass and put it in my cultivated plant, or I put it in an open space that don't have a
Ground cover.
No, this is my citrus. Oh, thank you. Then what happened with this plant that I cut? He started producing hormones, gibberellins, auxins, because he needs to sprout again. And then this information of growth circulated. See that movie of Suzanne Simard from Canada? She put a plastic bag and radioactive carbon dioxide, radioactive, 14 carbon, inside in the plastic bag. 80 times repeat this experiment. 80 times. What happened? In another species, then with the Geiger contact.
Yeah, the
There, another species, the radiation. The plant circulated the
poison.
the poison circulated the sugar, the carbohydrates.
yeah, carbohydrate.
Circulate the carbohydrate. A mother, a tree in the forest, old mother. We have, look below it. We have a garden of children, a kindergarten. Yes, you have, because thousands, millions of sons of them. They are waiting 25, 100 years. They are waiting. But the mother tree feeds all.
That's what you're talking about today.
They just that feeds all of them because they don't have much light. But the mother feeds with this web, with this net. Feeds not just the same species, different species. Suzanne Simard proved this. She did many experiments showing that there is a galaxy inside the soil.
So pretty much responding to your question is that there is a lot of talk about trees releasing the roots as well. But recently, I think 1 or 2 years ago, we were talking to these mango growers, 20,000 mango growers, and they're talking about keeping the grass, and the plants were not absorbing as much water because the grass was seeded. And then Fernando came up with this explanation. Now, by just managing the grass, when the grass goes to seed, it activates more circulation of water into the living organism, and that's actually the change. It's beyond only releasing and feeding it. It's just like feeding the micro life on the trophic chain that will read the whole thing, that will change the hormones and bacteria, and it goes beyond. And a lot of information we can find when we listen to Soil Food Web. This will make a lot more sense, especially after the explanation about natural succession. But it changed, like we're talking about grass, but it's the same with trees. When you have a cacao plantation, cacao needs heavy pruning every now and then to produce more.
30% of biomass produced in cacao
Niches.
comes from cacao, the management of cacao, 30%.
And then let's keep moving. We talk more about that, but could you guys realize that the heap's more complex? Okay, guys, few things. I like to recap every now and then so we don't get lost. So when you stop on the first spot, everyone was hunting for some shade. Yeah? So first thing that we could notice, temperature. That was like big factor to put into the equation here. A lot of elements cannot live, especially the elements that they are here now. They could not live in too much sun. That's one first thing. If you try, not here where everyone walks, but a little bit to the side, try to get some of the soil. Look, do you see how hard I was trying to put my machete on the ground? And here, I can go and keep going. So another fact to put in the equation is how soft the soil is, you know? So do you reckon if I put a lettuce or any type of tree or plant that requires this type of soil, they wouldn't survive, okay? Let's try to get some of this soil and put it in your hand. If you had a chance to smell the other, try to go not actually in a little bit more to the side where there are more biomass. Look, it's easy for me to, a little bit more to the side. There is a lot of compactation on. If you wanna take this, smell it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay. Did you guys smell the first one? Smell this one and see the difference. Where do you think that there are more life?
Here.
Yeah. Ooh. Another element that I want you guys to notice. Look, there is not only one layer of the forest. There is not only one layer of the forest of canopies here. Look, there are 30, 40 meters high trees. There are 20, 25 meters high trees. 10, 15 meters high trees. And under here you see young trees that they are the next generation. That it is in place. So what I really would like you guys to think about is another factor that I would like guys to see here is, look how much leaves. Can you actually see any grass growing? You see where it's open. Look, the grass is here where the sun, it comes to protect. So look at there, see if you see any grass. There is no grass. Look at the other side, there is no grass. So if you want to stop all your time of weeding in your garden, in your veg garden, first thing that you gotta do is keep the ground always covered. That's the first thing. Do you remember Fernando saying that the only management that we do in a really good agroforestry system is harvesting and pruning? So we always keep the ground covered. Yes, that's the first thing that we gotta agree here. Ground is always covered. The second one is, where does the energy that comes to our body comes from? From the food. No, first of all, from the food that we eat. And then, where does the energy that comes from the food comes from? From the sun. And then from the cosmos. And all the indigenous civilizations, they knew it. And they never stopped the flow of energy. After they eat, they do the ceremonies, they chant, they praise this flow of energy. So they never stop the flow of energy. And if the energy that the plants need comes from the sun, it means how do the plants get this energy? What's the process called? Photosynthesis. So here, how much photosynthesis you reckon that's happening here? A lot. And not only there are plants that are on the top, that they are there working hard, protecting the other ones, but every layer of this forest here, it's doing photosynthesis, photosynthesizing. Oh, that was hard to say. Yeah, made it. So photosynthesis is happening in every level here. So another thing out of the ground cover, it is we are maximizing for this living organism here to be really lush. Do you see any pests here? There is any disease, any yellow, like you don't see that here. It's really healthy. Yeah? But you see that's maximizing photosynthesis. There is layers. If there is a little bit of sun coming through, this grass is gonna come in to protect, to maximize the photosynthesis. To work, to bring more energy to where? To the soil food web that we've been talking about the last hour. So agree again, ground's always covered. If you really want to build what makes a healthy living organism, the ground's always covered. That's the first thing. If you're building a little garden, a little veggie garden, if you're building if you are managing a forest, the ground's always covered. The second one is, if that ground's covered, it's trying to keep all the energy, all the moisture in the soil. So when you're maximizing photosynthesis, it's bringing more energy. If you're building a veggie garden, you have to have a high density plant. High density planting in your veggie garden, that's why when Fernando is talking, I'm talking, it's always about a lot of plants at the same time, a lot of plants in the same hole, because we need to connect all this microlife this living organism in the soil, so they are all working as a team to, like my heart, my lungs, my kidney, my liver, every little every organ is working towards a macroorganism. It's not about the microorganism, it's about the macroorganism. So maximizing photosynthesis all the time. Doesn't matter how big is your garden, how small is your garden, you need to maximize photosynthesis. And how do you maximize photosynthesis? High density planting, multi-layer forests, multi-layer planting. Okay? Another one that we can talk about is, you see that there are plants that's been there for 20, 30, 100, 200 years maybe. And there are plants that's been here for years or months. When that one died, this one is waiting. So the next generation is here. It's waiting for a little opportunity to thrive through, to be able to fulfill its full function, to be an adult plant. But at the moment, as Fernando said, the big ones are feeding the small ones that are the exchange of nutrients. And even if you're building a really healthy living system, we need to think about, we need to have the plants that will last that amount of time, You need to have the ones, sometimes they are even seeds that won't sprout for a long period of time. They will be there waiting. So the natural succession is always in place. There is always the next one to come. And when you do it, it's always to make a really healthy living organism. These young plants or the plants of the future or the forest of the future, they have to be in place in the same spot. Yes? Again. And then, I already spoke about that. That is the multi-layer forest that is composed by the emergent ones that they are on top of the forest. They don't tolerate any shade at all. If anyone's on top of them, they will go for the sun. They will go on sideways for the sun. There are the high strata, the one that's on top, but they tolerate 10%, 15% of shade, 20 at most of shade at some times of the day. Okay, maybe in the morning, maybe in the afternoon. There are the plants that they are on the medium strata. The ones that they love to be there, like the emergent ones. For the emergent, the paradise is full sun. For the high strata, paradise is maximum of 20% of shade. If there is more, they start stressing out. If there is less, they stress out as well. And there is the medium strata, the ones that they are not in the full shade. They get a little bit of shade, maybe in the morning, a little bit of sun in the morning, there is some sun in the afternoon, or maybe in the middle of the day, some light passing through the leaves, they get some shade. So they are medium strata, they are happy, they are in paradise in the middle of the forest. And there are the plants that they are in low strata, that if there is a little bit of sun, they burn. They don't like to be in the full sun. Not that they burn, they might hang in there. You know, but how, you don't want to hang in there in your life. You want to like be hanging there, like just be, oh my God, a surviving mode. That's what happens when you take a plant that belongs to the understory of the forest and you put them in the full sun. My God, and then the microorganism will try to send some shade and you kill it. and then if there just in case happens to have a little sun coming through, that is the ground cover. The plants that will be right at the bottom, like trying to protect, and they live in a full shade permanent, all the time. Yes? So again, the ground is always covered by what? Not just leaves, canopies, different plants, generations, and different layers. Okay, yeah, go on.
How many layers do you think are here?
Man,
Ernst defined 11 layers.
We make it simple.
But if we don't need to do this so
precise.
Yes, if we construct a forest with emergent, high, middle, and low, and we can plant another things
underneath.
Below, this is the paradise.
So that is actually.
Until today, I couldn't construct complete all the time. Oh, I forgot here a middle stratum. I forgot there a low stratum, because all the time we went. Oh, I need a hardwood. Oh, this is bad. This is the best wood. This is the best. Oh, I plant mahogany. All the best woods we plant. What happened? We force high stratum because this is economic. This is what our eyes see. But if we entupir,
we feel it, put too much of it.
If you put too much, the system stops.
It stagnates, and then there is not enough sunlight coming through for the other ones.
Yes, and what happens here? This is not a primary forest. Where's the huge wood? We can't see. We just thin. Well, where is well, somebody cut. In the past, somebody came here, put down the hardwood, sell the wood. And what happened? Oh, cocoa, coffee is low stratum. Let's plant here. Oh, you open a clearing just here, cut with machete, a hole with 2 meters, and plant. What happened? Nothing happened. Because we need to synchronize.
Yeah,
this is our old shape. This is the plants, they are in another time. We need to synchronize. How we synchronize? Ernst has already done this experiment. Just pruning, just let the skeleton of the trees, And everybody cuts in a shallow cut. Everybody in logs with 50 centimeters along the field. Oh, this is much better than the other that just prune, trying to save the plants. No, this is faster than the other. The other stay like you have a car, you stop in a hole, stay in the tires, como fala, patina, spinning. Yes, and then move forward. Then it's better you cut everybody. Then you put you have another. You boost because here you have the regeneration.
Biomass.
The regeneration.
No, you plant the trees now. You complete I don't have middle stratum. I don't have. No, we have low stratum, but they are weak. Look at the plants. They are thin. You don't have cocoa. You don't have a strong low middle stratum. They are here, and this happened when stop pruning because we constructed the forest. We planted. But now we need to manage the floors, the first floor, the second floor. If we stop pruning, or for example, we start a field here in Mastatal, then where is the guy that will take? What's your name? Jacob. Então, Jacob is the responsible. But Jacob decided, she met a beautiful girl, decided to go to Bali and go and stop the forest. After 1 year, he returned. What happened? Oh, cocoa must almost dying, citrus, coffee, everything is dying or stop producing. And 2010, there was a hurricane here in Central America. The next year was a record of production of cocoa. The next year.
It was what?
A record.
A record of production because
It's like natural
if you want fruits, you need to produce disturbance. You need to produce not disturbance.
Like stress?
It's not I don't know this word technomorphic.
I think that's creating opportunity
It's
for
like
you.
I buy a bulldozer and not this disturbance. We need to create a disturbance, a controlled disturbance. I prune all the layers, and now I can't do this because it's so high the trees. And if we are pruning all the time, the trees are smaller because we are trying to. I don't need to climb so high, because it started correctly. We can't do surgeries here. I open this.
Like patches up, we cannot patch
Yes.
up.
Because there is an open here. No, because everybody is another time. We have envelhecida, como se fala?
Senescence is old, they're getting old.
We have a senescent
System.
termites. We need to prune everything.
That
We
is
need to cut down. The first you need to put down to start again.
When you prune, do you check the moon? No.
Yes and no. Yes, if you have
time.
the correct moon, and no, if you need to prune and you don't have time to cut in the correct moon. Yes, I asked this question to Ernst. Yes, when we have prune, but I prune all the time. I can't respect this correct moon. Then I prune all the time.
So, yeah, go on, sorry.
No.
So, okay, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, sorry. I was just wondering, is there a point? I see how this makes sense in restoring the areas. It's better to start from zero, let it grow. Now, is there a point where you stop pruning? Let's say everything is now perfectly established. If all your strata, everything is highly productive.
Can I answer that one,
If
Fernando?
you stop pruning,
Fernando,
what-
posso
Is there a
responder
point?
essa?
But then if you talk about scaling it,
No,
also,
okay.
then we'll be
We need to understand is nothing in nature is static. Static. It's always dynamic. What is the cycle? We're gonna talk about that in the classroom today. But what is the cycle of nature? What is like you said, a couple of years ago, a big hurricane came and disturbed. That's the management that happens. In some environments there are big animals that comes in and are constantly pruning, constantly disturbing the system. You go to Thailand, in Bali, you see monkeys constantly taking down branches so they when they are so they're pruning. So every element.
Every night they sleep in a different nest. Chimpanzee. Constructing the trees every night. They don't sleep at the same.
So
All the
they're
time they're pruning.
they are always so these cycles of nature. That is the cycle of the forest. We're gonna talk about that. The cycle of the forest. Inside of the cycle of the forest, that is the cycle of water, the cycle of nutrients. And there is this moon cycle. There is a lot of things that we need to work with if we want to. We'll get to a point that if you let it go, it will happen in nature in its own time. That's going to happen here. You see, that's already signs of old senescence here. Vines will start growing. We'll go to take out, to create a disturbance. How it happens is the vine will grow around the trees that needs to be removed. The trees that doesn't need to be removed, the vine will not grow in it. We'll go around, we'll struggle that tree, we'll make that tree weak, and then when the wind blows, that opens a new clearing in the system. Even if you don't do it in your own time, if you let it grow, nature will make it happen in nature's own time. Yes, and you're gonna complement it.
But you can say, oh, but if you go to a primary forest, we can't see pruning. There are the trees there. We can't see who is pruning. No, there is no pruning. Monk is pruning. But if you want high production, if you go to Amazon, for example, a hard wood that we have in Amazon, expensive, is forbidden to cut now, mahogany.
Mahogany, yeah.
Mahogany. You have one tree each 2-3 hectares. But in 1 hectare of our forest, we can plant it 5, 10, 12, 13. Do you understand? High production. Then if we stop pruning, what happens? The high stratum occupy, because there is it's like a movie, we have a progress. We plant it in high density. The emergence, we thinning.
Thinning out, yeah.
We thinning. The emergence. The high stratum we thinning too, but we pruning. We don't prune emergence because the emergence is so high, but we planted it in high density. The first year, okay, second year, third year, nobody bothers other because they are far. Because you can imagine one tree this side. If I plant 2 trees, one here, I planted 20 trees by meter, here. My soil is weak, different from here. First years, they are this way. I cut in the grass, I plant in lines, in degraded area. Second year, they are this. Now, I have a baru here, a fruit savanna, a fruit from my savanna. I have a baru here and the baru here. They are the same stratum. And then you realize, they are like this. They are
Fighting.
Bothering each other.
empurrando. Como
Yeah,
se fala?
pushing.
Yes.
For the
Thank
space.
you, Baru. Thank you very much. You choose the best. And if you plant the caucho,
Cashew.
caucho, como se fala?
Rubber tree.
Rubber tree. You cut the point of the knife, you risk, and see which produces much more rubber. This is produce much more. Then we cut this.
Okay.
Then we choose the best. Then you have the best of some years. Because cocoa, when start production here? How many years? 3. And it's not a huge tree, okay? With 3 years. It's not the adult tree. But it start production. Then you plant together. Then second year, this cocoa is not good cut. But there is another here. There is another here. They start production. This production much more than this. But they now, 5 years, they start, I choose the best. The cocoa is, the taste is better than this. Then I cut that.
Como el animal.
Then I do a selection. After some years, I have the best of the best. Or for example, another example, in Atlantic forest is something, it's almost, we plant many trees from Amazon in Atlantic forest, cocoa, castanha, Brazil nut. Then we have plants from Amazon like cupuaçu. Cupuaçu is middle stratum. In Amazon we have cupuaçu with 18 meters high. 18. Cupuaçu is above the cocoa. But in Atlantic forest, we have another myrtaceae we call cambuca. But cupuaçu, with 6 years, start production in Atlantic forest. There's but I plant cambuca together. But cambuca and cupuaçu, they are the same stratum. They are middle. But now cambuca is a dwarf near of the cupuaçu. No problem. I cut a branch of cupuaçu. Oh, you are covering my cambuca. I want to eat cambuca. Then, but cambuca start production after 15 years. Then he's bigger, much more bigger. Then cupuaçu start with 6 years. After 90 years of production of cupuaçu, cambuca start production, and they are like this. Oh, my place is here, cambuca. No, this is cupuaçu. Then you need to choose. Oh, how is the market? Oh, I think that cambuca 15 years. I prefer cambuca. Then I cut cupuaçu. Now this place is from cambuca. Then you need to choose. You can choose Nirvana, the land of happy guy. You can choose the best of the best. Because of this, we need to plant it in high density.
Now, like how far would you plant cacao, like at the beginning with?
Cacao is not I don't plant cacao in my area.
But we're gonna plant here every meter.
One plant,
No, I'm just wondering because
if you want
you know what I
one,
mean?
if you want one, you need to plant 100 seeds. If you want one, you plant 100 seeds. 100 seeds, not seedlings. You plant here, one seed here, 10 centimeters.
10 centimeters,
10
not even 1
centimeters.
meter, every 10
10
centimeters.
centimeters, one seed of cocoa, and together you plant
Look
other
at his
seeds
face.
of high stratum, middle stratum. And now, we don't have seeds now. We plant with seedlings. There is a problem with seedlings. In my protected area, a researcher made a research. He planted in plastic bags. He buy the plants, seedlings in plastic bags, 1 year old. And he planted here. Then he planted here 20 seeds and choose the best. Then, after 2 years, the first year, the plant that I planted with plastic bags is bigger. But the second year, this start ultrapassando.
Yeah, we're going over it,
Over them.
taking over.
Then he dig the soil. Sometimes the plants with plastic that we use plastic bag, the roots are
Root bound.
yes.
Twisted.
Around
Yes,
different-
and this straight ahead go far inside of the
they don't
soil.
have like space.
No, they produce uma raiz pivotante.
Yeah, the tap
A
root, what we call
straight
tap.
ahead, and that it can produce because a infância dela,
The childhood, they were
childhood,
like we all are traumatized by
all-
childhood. the
Yes.
plants are too, you know.
And if you plant in high density,
Trauma starts early.
Yeah.
it's a waste of energy if we plant it. But we can plant it
By seedlings.
We want to plant citrus. I buy citrus, grafting citrus, né?
Grafted, yeah.
Grafted, and I plant in the commercial spacing, 5 meters, because it's expensive grafted
Citrus.
citrus or other plants that I buy, no problem. But between one citrus and another, I plant seeds of trees each 5 centimeters with pineapple, cassava, mulberry, other stratus, high stratum, emergent.
Everything. Yeah, every 5
Everything.
centimeters
Everything.
in line. Because, yeah, they go on.
When I
Sorry.
plant in high density, it's completely different. The
activity in the
the
soil.
activity, the information.
The-
We have
the ma-
roots.
What they're
We have much more
exchanging.
roots. If I don't plant in high density, citrus don't grow up very fast. Different. It's completely different. They have more aphids. The aphids, yeah, that suck the sap. High density is very, very important concept.
So the
Because I pruning, the citrus is growing, then I plant fast woods, for example, Cecropiacea, Imbaúba, other
Mahogany
trees, other
or
trees, but
anything.
Brazilian nut,
Huh?
Brazilian nut.
Brazilian nuts, you can plant everything.
Yes.
But the idea is
We are adjusting. During the process, we are adjusting
adjusting
the shade of each stratum. If we stop pruning, what happened? Ernst, for 10 years, near of my land, he did many workshops, 1 and 2 workshops by year. But then one day, when he decided to work with eucalyptus, there was an argument that it's not good because the owner of the land hated eucalyptus. He was an environmentalist. Then Ernst decided, oh, I'm go away. I never to come back here. If you go there, if you go in this place after 20 years planting agroforestry, we have 5 hectares of agroforestry. It started in 2002 and we are in 2019. If you go there today, they stopped pruning 2010. What happened? We have
a big gap, a big opening in the. I was there in January.
We have a strong high stratum that covered everything. Nobody pruned since 2010. Then citrus, many citrus died. Banana, all the bananas died. We have a middle stratum banana. We have different types of banana, high stratum and middle stratum. We planted one that was Musa cuminata, we call banana prata in Brazil. It is middle stratum. All of them died.
There are one or two that you can see still, but they're really tiny and.
They are brocas.
Yeah, Bora beetle.
Bora?
Yeah, Bora beetle.
Bora beetle in their roots. Citrus stop production. Coffee, they stay empty of leaves.
Yeah, they go
without
up.
leaves, and this part without branches, it's completely stopped. Everything low stratum and middle stratum stop production. But in primary forest we have middle stratum, but we don't have a high production, and we want a high production. Because of that, we need to prune. If you go to Amazon, you can see cocoa in primary forest, cupuaçu. Everybody, they are there.
But they are spaced out, so that's naturally.
Yes,
they take their own space and in its own time.
But using this strategy of nature, we plant in high density, then, and this is the discovery of Ernst, this is I think
the best one, yeah.
Yes. In the tropics, in the equator line, we have 11 and more. But Ernst say emergent. But we have emergent like this. He calls convex emergent. We have emergent, neutral emergent, the canopy, the shape of canopy, neutral emergent, and we have concave emergent. And these plants, we have 20% of shade in this layer of emergent. In the occasional, we have emergent here and over there, 20% of shade in this layer. The second layer is high stratum, 40%. The maximum is 40%. Can be 35, 30, but the maximum of shade of high stratum is 40%. Then we need to prune.
To keep the sunlight in and out.
It's much more important that the percentage of shade is the dynamic. Because you can say, oh, my agroforest is perfect. 20% of emergent shade, 40% of high stratum, 60% of middle stratum, 80 to 90% of low stratum is perfect. But it can't produce. Why? Because you don't prune. Much more important, much more than the shade is the dynamic that you give to this. It's the dynamic. You are pruning because when you prune, you stimulate plant producing fruits. You stimulate
the growth of everything.
When high stratum sprout, middle stratum sprout, this information circulates. And I have a picture I showed to you. It's a beautiful. It's not Photoshop manipulated. No, it's really, really beautiful. Everything is green, is young. It's like if you prune at the correct time, it's like como se fala atleta?
Like an athlete.
Athlete, high
high-
performance. With high performance athlete, Michael Phelps, high performance without doping. Natural hormones produced.
So I have a question real quick. So if we're not specifically focusing on in a farming setting or high productive setting, if it was strictly for reforestation, pruning is still necessary because it keeps everything functioning
No,
perfectly.
it's not necessary. But you need to pay attention because the conventional reforestation, what they do?
Just
They,
plant
they have another conception. Oh, the concept is pioneers, secondary, and climax. No?
Yes.
This is the concept. Pioneer is the very fast growing. Secondary, 50 years, 30 years, and climax. And they spread this and plant. We need to observe that we need to mix the correct stratum. We need to alternate in stratum. I plant here low stratum, but then I plant here middle stratum. I plant 2 lines here and here. And with seeds. We don't need to buy seedlings. With seeds. And most parts of degraded area in my country, what we have in most parts of degraded area? Grass, brachiaria, brachiaria decumbens, brachiaria brisanta, African grasses, or capim meloso, capim gordura, a fat grass, I don't know the name, it has a resin, andropogon, this is the common. Then this is mechanizado.
Mechanized.
Mechanized, you can do this. Ernst did this in the Toca farm. You buy a rotary tiller with subsoiler together at the same machine. It's easy to construct. Rotary tiller and subsoiler at the same. You have a rotary tiller in front, a subsoiler.
The reaper they call.
Reaper. 2 or 3 reaper.
Yeah.
Yes. Then use, como que é roçadeira?
The slasher.
Slasher. You cut with the slasher all the grass. Then we have a enleirador. Como se fala enleirador?
Yeah, you just
Enleirador.
yeah, the ones that you accumulate the you know the grass that
implements
throw the grass to the sides, the ones that you use.
Common agriculture. Then we take out the grass of that line. You rip the grass in all the field that you need to rip. If you can use tractor, no? Because sometimes it's you have a
Slow.
you can use. But if you can, then you take out the grass, then you pass the rotary tiller with the reaper. So after you go with tractor, use the
Organic matter.
organic matter in the field. This is 80 centimeters, 1 meter. Then you put the grass here. Let's look. Then is the grass. Then you put the grass here. You put the grass here with the tractor. And then you say the concave place. Here we plant the seeds. But today we are doing what we are doing. We plant seeds with cassava. Cassava can pay part of the investment of the restoration.
But what,
Not just cassava. If the land is not degraded, completely degraded, you can plant sweet potato, cassava, other things that during, because the trees are so small, and cassava is the creator of the trees.
but I responding to his question about pruning, the management of the tree.
If you are doing this,
Not necessarily
the
in the
law.
early stages. I mean, after you've planted a successful agroforest, it's done. You have the perfect amount of light, but it's not for production anymore. It's for reforestation.
yes, if you are doing this just by the law obligates you to do this. You do this and forget it.
And leave it. That'll be.
Yeah.
So all you do is you plant it once,
Yeah.
put all this succession,
But it's
what we call
better to
placenta, one,
But
two.
it's better to the dynamic. You plant here in this line. You can plant it in 3-4 meters in this line. You plant here, middle and emergence, and here high and low, because you stay this way. This in the line. If you take out, you plant it this way, it's better to the plants. More sunlight they will receive. Okay.
So ideally, I would respond to your question, is you don't need to manage. The same as every element is working to speed up the natural process, to work, to make it the reforestation or improve the degradation faster. We as a human, we play a role in the system too. If we play our role in the system by managing it, we speed up the process. Instead of taking 100 years for that trees to grow in its natural course, we do that in 8 years, 10 years. So we have a really lush forest, and you don't need to prune as when you are producing 3-4 times a year. We might be able to prune it once a year, come into the area and prune it once a year. But as he said, you don't need to, but if you do, you speed up the process. You're creating more biomass available for the plants, you're activating more growth in the roots, and it is more, that's why we teach here.
Like a movie, like you can fast forward it by your
That's exactly what I was gonna say. We tend to think as a picture. Oh, that's my forest, that's how it should look like. Oh, that's my corn crop, I planted, I'm gonna harvest, that's a picture. No. Nature is not static, nature is dynamic, it's a movie, it's not a picture. So all the time there is elements coming in and elements coming out. But the thing is the timing. In our time, life, we might not have time to wait 100 years for the other species to come in or out. And then we can actually play a role and
accelerate
that's our function in the system. People say, what is the function of humans in that? Because we know the function of worms are to eat the soil, help decompose and break through the soil. The birds, they come in, they carry seeds, they control pests. And what is the function of human? It's accelerators of natural processes. If we work with it, we can speed up the natural processes of life. And that's why we all here today, one of the most important, there is so many important things that we gotta talk about. One of the most important things that I really would like you guys to get is, we are accelerators of natural process. We can wait until this forest, because that's another thing that I want to mention is, Scott told me that this was cut, all this area here was cut at 50, 60, 100 years ago for dairy farm. And then as soon as the cows, the cattle left the system, and that's why you don't see big, huge trees here. You see one or the other in different spots, but that's a young forest here. So if we could accelerate like here, we get here, you see that this is senescent, we would get here, we would accelerate. How do we accelerate? We put everything back to the ground, leave 1 or 2 species that will stay there, but we prune them too. And then we plant what we have available to fulfill the time and space. And that's for reforestation. We don't want to give you guys recipes, and that's how we should do, because it works different in different climates and things. But basically, if you understand, if you live here the 6 days with the concept of what is natural succession, where each plant belongs to in each strata, you guys will be able to work with what you've got in your own area with seeds or seedlings, whatever you guys have. One more question, then we go, huh? And it's nearly lunchtime, isn't it? 12:30. It's 12:30? What's the lunchtime? 1. 1? Okay, yes. No? Is everyone, yeah?
Okay, so I was actually confused at first because from the explanation I thought that syntropic farming was only done if you start from scratch, right? You have a degraded land, but you just answered my question that you can restart a senescent forest or a secondary forest like we are right now by pruning and then planting the plants that you would want.
Let's imagine that there are cycles in the forest. In old reforestation, Fernando just said there was, so they call it pioneer, primary, secondary, and climax forest, okay? And how it's changing naturally in the forest. There are these cycles, trees falling down, creating new clearing, and the next forest, the forest of the future is coming. And that's what these little ones, they are the forest of the future. They're just waiting for an opportunity to come and create the next generation of a more abundant type of forests. And that's when we get here, we find that, okay, This is a primary forest. There are vines growing there. You can see the vines are growing around some trees that they will, in maybe 10 years, a lot of these trees will come down to the ground, and then new growth, a new forest, a new type of forest with more, the plants that require more life will come up. But what can we do? We can realize that we have a function of accelerating the natural process, prune everything, put some of the trees to create a lot of the trees to create the biomass, and create a new, more abundant in succession, further in succession, and more lush, more productive, more whatever you guys want to do with the forests.
And when you say prune everything, you mean like clear cut, basically.
If you start in a secondary,
Right, and something like
yes,
this.
yes,
We
yes,
basically
because-
clear cut with
yes.
leave some very specific trees.
you can
Leave the skeleton.
You don't need to. If you leave the skeleton, what happen? I know I don't put all fall down. No,
Yeah.
just leave the skeleton. Then I plant cocoa.
Just a second,
coffee,
did you understand?
citrus.
So let's say that you don't prune everything, put everything back to the ground. You do a light pruning. You just leave
For example, 5 meters, 7 meters.
you just leave the branches and with the no much leaf.
Structure of the tree.
The structure of the
leaves.
tree. Some of
Yes, but for example, this size bigger, I don't prune. Then I let the structure of the trees. What happened? Now I produce thousands of biomass, cover everything, then I plant it. Even use seedlings, cocoa, hardwoods, citrus, rambutan, mangostan, everything. What happened? After few months, everybody sprout again and cover everything. And what happened with the plants that you plant now?
they won't catch up. They're not synchronizing.
You don't go to, you can't go to the next step. You stop it, because everything produce branches again, tons of leaves again, and close the sky. Because of this, it's better we start again. But and sometimes when teaching farmers, they say, "Oh, interesting. So I have a legal reserve, Brazil. You need to protect 20% of your farm. You can't cut the forest, 20%. In Amazon is 80%, but all rest of the Brazil, 20% you need to protect." Then we teach the farmer, and the farmer says, interesting. I will do this in my legal reserve. No, you have 80% of your farm. Start. You need to learn how to construct a forest before you destroy one. Mm-hmm. Because he chooses them because he don't know what I can do with this part. It's useless for me. Mm-hmm. Then he want to give to you the worst part of the
Welcome
farm.
to the club. That's what they did
This is
to
the
me.
worst part, because if this works in the worst part of his farm, he believes that works in any part of his farm. Mm-hmm. Then you know, let's take the middle, the average, not the best part, not the worst. Mm-hmm. And this is the common.
And if we are the optimizers of processes, and which one is your function? To destroy and improve something that's already good, or to go to a place in your farm where it's already degraded that you can actually grow? So before, what he's trying to say, before you go in and put everything down and start again, it's better for you to go into a place where it's a little bit open and start from there, learn, and then learn the dynamics, when to prune, when not to prune, and then you interact with abundant living organisms. We really need to go before is that time, isn't it?
No.
12:35. Okay, it's up to you. Okay,
1 o'clock, no?
We have
1
25
o'clock.
minutes.
Okay.
No, if you have for example,
You guys are
have
happy
a
here?
small farm, you have a small farm. Then you plant agroforestry in all farm. Every year, for example, you have 10 hectares, and each year you plant 1 hectare. 1 hectare this year. After 10 years, you have all the 10 hectares covered with forest. Well, where I can plant my corn now? Where I can plant my beans, rice, lettuce, vegetables? If I plant forest in all my property. Mm-hmm. No, you choose now the old one and cut, put fall down, and but the fertility is much better than when we start. It's much better now. And you don't need to cut everything. Because we have the transitional trees. For example, here we have Ceiba pentandra. How the name?
Ceiba.
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 Ceiba?
Like the one
Yes,
that contains a lot of water.
1,000 years. Yes, with roots that.
You can see like the
Yes.
strias, the lines, the green lines. Yeah.
It's a huge tree. It can live 1,000 years, more than 1,000. We have trees that can live 500 years, 800 years. We call these trees transitional trees because it's almost of them, they are emergent. They stay here looking. The forest, oh, a clearing open here. Another clearing there. Oh, another there. After 1,000 years, then we can leave this emergent tree.
But we prune a little bit, so when
Yes,
you're...
you can prune a little bit. For example, Ernst started working with a huge production of coconut in Brazil. A farm that, a company, 10,000 hectares, and they was having a problem because each 2 years they need to use a, como se fala, gradear, parar.
like till it.
Tiller, yeah.
Till it.
Because coconuts are planted, not a dwarf coconut, it's a mutant of the original coconut. This that we drink the water, it's a dwarf. But the original coconut, it's high, né? Like this tree, 90 meters, 90 meters, one coconut. We have a lot of space with nothing. Then Ernst went to this place and then see why each 2 years we need to pass the tiller to remove, to kill the. He saw 2 types of herbs. One of them, each 2 years, flourish. Then this information passed to the coconut and coconut stop production. Then what is the suggestion of Ernst? Oh, we changed the grass. We plant the
Panicum maximum.
panico grass. No, green panic. Green panic because it's part of Brazil. It's so dry. Green panic. It's a type of Panicum maximum. Green panic can grow up in this place. And after each 4 meters and a half, you plant a line of cashew nut and a line of neem, an Indian plant, produce oil, neem. And both they are good to prune. And between 1 meter, the distance 1 meter, and between of them you plant cassava. And to synchronize with the coconut, you don't need to cut the coconuts. You clean all the old leaves of coconut, just the 1 or 2 leaves, the youngest leaves of the coconut, you don't prune, but cut all the leaves. Then this way you production biomass of grass that you rip and put in the line of the trees. Then you cut the neem, you prune the neem, all mechanized. And then you have, because neem is high stratum, coconut is emergent, but they are planted in very far. Then cashew nut can grow and neem can grow. And then we have here coconut 90 meters. Here you plant a line of cashew nut or neem. And here you plant a coconut 90 meters. Here you plant cashew nut. And between you plant cassava. And here you plant grass. Then mechanized, you pass here. You have in India, Thiago bought this machine, cut and put the grass in the line of trees. Then you take here, then mechanize the pruning too. You prune, the neem is very resistant. It's a good plant to prune. And then we have a very important thing, lignin. Then if you mechanize the prune, the branches, we have in this website, you need to read these works of Gilles Limay. He died some years ago, But Gilles made many experiments using wood chips,
Wood chip.
with branches, como se fala, até 8 centímetros.
Up to 8
Up to
centimeters.
8 centimeters. He grinded
Grinded it.
produced wood chips, and produced tomatoes, potatoes, and it's unbelievable. 500% higher the production, 1000%, because lignin, it's a complex molecule of sugar, and then when the microorganisms eat them, they produce a estável, como se fala? Humus estável.
Humus.
Humus, but estável, humus estável.
Like stable, yeah.
Stable humus. The land becomes dark. It's like a terra preta de índio, Indian black soil. And we nós conseguimos, como se é?
We got
We got this because of lignin. So we need to plant trees, because grass, it can't. Grass, just with lignins, we have Basidium cetes fungi.
so
We
pretty
have the complete microorganisms of the soil. Because of this, we need to plant lignins. And farmers in Brazil, the big farmers, they don't want to plant trees. They think that just cover crops, by year, cover crops, annual cover crops, this is enough. This is not enough. We need to plant trees because we produce lignin, a complex molecule. Then when it is degraded by microorganisms, it produces a stable humus that capture nutrients. It's a deposit. When the nutrients are, when the second trophic level eat bacteria and fungi, and the residues of the second, third trophic level go to the soil, the humus capture with with negative charges, and many nutrients are positive charges. Cation. Then they are tracked, and then the humus stay with them, and the plants make a change with the humus. And not just this. Humus is very important to capture water. It's a deposit of water too. And here in the first, we can't forget this. Here we have the whole cycle of the water. That two places that we visited, the desert and the
open area.
field, we don't have. Because we have that place, we have rain, and the rain
The water just goes away, you wash
just
off.
goes away. And another important point, if you don't have covered the soil, the temperature is higher. And when we have rain, the temperature must be lower than the temperature of the drop of rain. The temperature of the soil. We've covered, the temperature here
It's
is
cooler.
cool. This way is hot. When the drop of rain hit the soil can't suck the water. The water needs to cooler.
To be cool, because that water expands and contracts
To be
and
cool.
with temperature.
Yes.
That's why your beer always explodes in the fridge.
Discovered all the rain hits here, and slowly the soil is cool. The temperature is lower than the water. Then all the water is sucked.
And
This is the whole.
and-
There is the middle cycle.
imagine if you have a veggie garden with bare soil. That's how people grow food nowadays. What happens is you can irrigate that 3 times a day, and that's not gonna be any good for you. The water will get in there and or evaporate or will wash off, depending on how you're growing. So if you're growing only veggies, and that's why ground cover is really important. To summarize everything, we spoke about the ground cover, that's one of the principles. We spoke about the maximizing photosynthesis, that's another principle. We spoke about the natural succession, that's another principle. we spoke about the stratification, that's another piece. We spoke about the synchronization of the system, that's another principle. And the most important of one, that's what you guys are always asking, management. That's a really crucial part. And I like to say that all these principles, they work as a fish net. If you're a fisherman, you're gonna go out and collect fish out of the ocean. You want to make sure that there is no holes in your fish net. So otherwise you come back with not as much fish as you wished. That's the same with the principles. If you have a hole in your principles, you're gonna lose a lot of energy, a lot of production, so you want all these principles to work equally and at the right time, working properly as a fish net. So you can collect as much energy and keep the water, keep nutrients, working with the cycles. Yes? So, I think that's good to start from the beginning. Can you move on? Another one. So, we tend to think that we are the intelligent ones in this living organism that we live in. And as you guys could realize, if you guys haven't realized earlier, that's what we try to speak through this whole morning, is we are just part of a highly intelligent microorganism where everything, every element is trying from different shapes, different materials, trying to work towards the same goal, to maximize, complexify, to increase life in the planet here, okay? So, if you want to move another one, these life forms together, unified, they evolve in a way that benefits the whole system, not just one element. So I like to say that everyone here is here to serve, you know? We say in Portuguese, probably in Spanish it makes sense. Ernst said that in the last workshop, se não está servindo, não serve para nada. If you're not serving, what are you here for? Like, se não está servindo, não serve para nada. Everyone is here to serve life, and with the best of the tools that has been given to every element, they are here for the same purpose, to keep life alive, to complexify living organisms, to keep life alive and moving forward in succession. Okay? Can you do another one, please? Before we start talking about syntropy, we need to understand what's the opposite of syntropy. Some people who studied Rudolf Steiner, they might came across to this terminology entropy. So entropy is, in my understanding, is the direction of movement of decomplexification, from complex to simple. And in the process of being, doing, or making anything, you keep losing. If you keep decomplexifying, you're becoming simple, you're going to end up with nothing. You're moving towards scarcity. So in this direction of movement of losing what? Losing energy. If you keep losing, you're going to end up with nothing. So we can agree that if you keep losing, you're going to end up with nothing. You're going to end up you are moving towards scarcity. So if you could put that in a spiral, instead of the spiral going up, and the spiral is going down, you're gonna the systems in general. Let's say examples of entropy. Okay, let's use a tree. A tree that came from a little seed, complexifying energy and matter, and making different materials of different shapes, making this beautiful living organism. And then someday you are cold or you need to cook, you decide to cut that tree, to burn that wood. So in the process of you interacting with that living organism, in the process of you being, just interacting with that living organism, when you cut that tree, you drop that tree. all the leaves is going to stay. And then you cut all the branches off that you might not use. And then you cut the logs, all the sawdust. What are you actually going to take out of that living being? Will be like 60%, maybe 50, maybe 70%, depending on the tree that you're going to actually use to burn. The rest, it's not for your system of heating up yourself for cooking. You are losing all that energy accumulated by life through its lifetime. So, and then when you put that firewood in your fire pit and you burn it, you get all that complex matter, and you decomplexify it, turn into heat, and that energy is lost. No one is able to get that energy and capture that energy again and turn into something. So the process of you warming up yourself because you want to heat up yourself or you want to cook, you use that living organism in a way entropically, because you got a really complex living system. You decomplexify it, simplify it, put in a fire, boom, and turn into heat, and no one is able to get it. So can you see that in the process of you being, doing, or making with that system that you did, it's lost. The energy is lost. You got a little bit of it, but it's lost. That's the same thing with our petrol, our fossil fuel. We get all that savings account that Mother Earth has been saving for millions of years, all that energy underground, and then all the energy spent to take that petrol or the fossil fuel out of there, process it, so transport it everywhere, so you can put in your car. And when you put in your car, and the engine of your car, I was reading on Victor Schauberg's book that the energy efficiency of the fuel that you put in your car is only 13%, actually the energy that you use out of that 1 liter of petrol. So can you see through the whole process of you dealing with in the system of getting that energy out of the ground and using it, and once it's burned, that fuel, no one is able to do anything with that energy. It's gone. So it's not recycled in the system that you create, that humans created. So that is an entropic interaction with that system. Make sure, do you guys understand what is entropy? So, do you want to move another one? So the sun is an entropic being that releases energy, and anyone said anything? Sorry. So the energy that the sun, we know, we hear that one day the sun's gonna die because it's always releasing energy. So the sun is an entropic being, and that energy that comes out of the sun is captured by a syntropic being that we're gonna get to move to the next one. So syntropy, that's the opposite of entropy. It's just another direction of movement. If you have that spiral going down, decomplexifying, losing energy, moving towards scarcity, syntropy is the opposite. It's moving towards abundance. It's coming from simple to complex, turning simple systems into complex systems, where more elements made of different shapes, different materials are working towards increasing the volume and quantity and quality of energy. And in the process of being, doing, or making anything, it's becoming more abundant. There is more energy coming in and more energy being stored. Let's use the same example, the tree. You get a tree, one little element, seed, and then you put on the ground. You water it. That tree will become a little seedling, made of different materials already coming up. And then that tree, that little seedling will become a juvenile tree, more branches, more the trunk, more leaves, and then fruits and seeds. And that tree, through its lifetime, will produce millions of more seeds that will generate. Imagine a jackfruit. How many jackfruits come out of one seed of jackfruits? And how many more seeds will be generated out of that? So this action or interaction of being, doing, or making anything, this direction of movement is syntropy. So let's use agriculture. The way that we do agriculture nowadays, we get a really complex living organism, the forest. we take that some elements out of the forest that we want to grow, domesticate the plants. I only want oranges. I put oranges here. My orange goes here, my mangoes go there, my bananas go there, and I'm decomplexifying that living organism. And in the process, that is the energy efficiency of that system, it's really bad because it doesn't sustain itself. That's why when when people say, "Oh, I want to be more sustainable," sustainable is boring. Seriously, imagine if I ask, "How is your marriage?" "Oh, it's sustainable." I'm hanging in there. You know, like I'm hanging in there. It needs to be regenerative. Every system that the really abundant living system, it is regenerative. So you take that trees out of you, decomplexify it, you put all your mangoes here, all your bananas here, all your citrus there, and then what's happening? They are not producing enough energy to sustain themselves. So they need to bring energy from outside. So this is an entropic way of growing food. Because you're bringing energy from outside, and that energy doesn't stay there, that energy just goes away. And that's the way that we do agriculture nowadays. Anything, could be organic or not. That's the way that we do. And we are proposing here what Ernst could work with. He understood the dynamic of this highly abundant living organism, that's the planet Earth, and how it works. How the planet is a syntropic being, that's the next one, that receives some of that energy from the sun, absorbs it in a small portion, and through life, through photosynthesis, is able to accumulate that, all that fossil fuel that we are using nowadays. It's because this beautiful planet is pretty much, the fossil fuel is our savings account. Imagine, we just heritage this multi-billionaire savings account, and we are partying with it. Take it! Take it! Like we're burning, literally we're burning the savings account. You know? And we are not working on not even sustaining it. Because if you keep sustaining, we keep losing. We need to do systems that regenerate, put more carbon on that soil, that will increase complexity, will increase quantity and quality of consolidated life in that soil. Make sense? Another one? So that's the spiral, okay, that I was talking about. So in entropy, elements made of different materials, different shapes and functions, the idea and the spirits. In entropy, you decomplexify. If you're losing elements, you're going to end up with one element, so you don't have different materials, you don't have different shapes, and there is no function, and you don't even get to the idea what that element's made for, and there is no spirit. Okay? And then on the other way, you got syntropy. That comes from the idea of human integration in the system, of every element's part of this element. The spirit is human integration. The idea is create a highly abundant living organism where the function is to accumulate energy, where a lot of elements made of different shapes and different materials. So that's how the system planet Earth works, and that's how the system forest, that's a highly abundant living organism, works. Can you go to the next one? So if we're moving towards an abundant system, highly abundant system, we want to grow food abundantly. We need to understand how the most abundant living organism that we want to mimic works. And life is abundant. Why life is so abundant? Because there are different elements made of different materials, in different shapes, always working towards the same goal, to increase quantity and quality of consolidated life. Can you guys get it? Quantity and quality of consolidated life. Okay? So life is abundant because there are more diversity, and wherever there is diversity, there is resilience. And The rainforest is abundant, is resilient, it is diverse, and if we want to mimic, if we want to be that abundant, at least close to, we need to understand how it works. And how does the forest work? The forest works in cycles. Okay? What is the cycle of the forest? Can anyone tell me? Here we spoke about that many times today, and at lunchtime we still had some people stuck on that mindset. What is the cycle of the forest?
Disturbance.
Yes, disturbance, yeah.
Towards climax.
Yeah, cycle is always moving, you know, it's a dynamic system that's always cycling. Cycling what? Cycling nutrients, cycling water, and we're gonna talk, I think the next one, I changed my, can you go forward? Yeah, one more. Yeah, so the cycle of the forest is from clearing to clearing. That's a natural thing that happens in the forest. Tree sprouts, tree grows, tree gets old, tree falls down, and then the next one comes in. Sometimes it happens by big branches falling. Actually, I saw that in Australia. One big branch fell off. We had this volcano there, Mount Warning, that there was this huge tree, huge. I think there was an eucalyptus, one of the old eucalyptus left in Australia, one of the few. And one branch that fell off opened a huge clearing in the forest. So one branch, imagine one big tree. What's the size of that clearing that tree will do? Okay, so this cycle from clearing to clearing is natural in the forest. Do you guys agree with me? Mm-hmm. Everyone? Did you know that? We spoke about that many times, but do we agree that's a common thing that's happening? Someone's drugging you guys, giving you coffee, so you guys can, a nice one.
Praise, yes!
So I don't need to use my machete then?
Hopefully not.
Yeah. Good. Can you go back to? And inside of this cycle of the forest, there's the cycle of water. Today we're not going to go deep. We don't have time, otherwise we're going to be here the whole time. That's just to talk about the cycle of water is another lecture of at least an hour here to talk in detail. But basically, it's the water in the cycle of the forest, it's always cycling. Little observation for you guys to do. Did you see how much it rains here? And we don't have paddocks of water anywhere. Strange, huh? You get rain last week in big cities, you still have that water stuck in there. Yeah, so water in life not supposed to be stagnated. Water is always in movement. It's always moving. So if water is moving, where it moves, how it moves in the forest. So it creates the heat, the coolness, like the moisture created overnight in that forest. In a multi-layered forest, the forest try to keep that humidity, and then when it warms up during the day, the hot air comes through. And because it's a multi-layer forest, the forest tries to keep a lot of that humidity inside of the forest. But because it is multi-layered, some of that hot air that will come through will heat the top of the forest, so we'll get through little gaps that it is. So some of that hot air will come in and mix with the cold air, and condensation will happen, and that's water happening in the forest. That's how some of the water cycle in that system. Also, when there is big rain like today, did you see that there is rained a lot? Like there is no paddocks. We walked from here to there, no one even got the wet, like didn't get any mud, you know, like it's not, the water is cycling. So the temperature, we spoke about that the temperature of when it comes, and if the system is cooler than when the rain, so water expands and contracts depending on the temperature. That's why our beer in the fridge, in the freezer, always explode because liquid water tends to become more dense or expand. Okay, so if it is cooler, the water will condense and will be easier to flow through, and the water is cycling, and then the trees will pump, the taproot trees will bring the water up and will bring it up. And if there is that percentage that Fernando said, that 15% occupation, 30-40% occupation on high strata, 60-80% occupation, and low on 80-90% occupation. So there is more water being pumped into the system than out of the system. Make sense what I'm saying? We could go on and be hours talking about water. So, and also inside of the cycle of the forest, there is the cycle of nutrients. We spoke a lot about that today. How does the mycorrhiza work? How some big trees are able to, through the root system and the mycorrhiza, take some of nutrients, make nutrients that are available only down deep into the soil, bring it up through the leaves, and the leaves falls and feed. So this whole nutrient, the animals that pass through the shit and pee and fertilize that space. So there is that cycle of nutrients. That's only, if you don't have a forest where big animals come through, you don't have that fertilization as well. You don't have that fertilizers in your system. If you only have one layer of forest, and like most of the crops they do now, they clean it, they take all that organic matter out, there is no fertilizer, there is no cycling of nutrients, you know? So that's another thing about, and we had a lot, I'm not gonna go into the micro life that we spoke a lot about today. I hope that you guys are familiar with the living organisms that make nutrients available, If you really want to, we can go on and talk about that. No, Ellie Ingham, we're gonna watch to her presentation, and that'll be easier for us. Yeah, no one's sleeping, I'm watching, huh? Huh? I'm joking, not really. Another one. So how it happens naturally in the cycle of the forest. If you leave an open pasture, okay, few years, in 2 years, little shrubs will come in, and the birds will sit on that. Birds will bring seeds from another abundant system, and bring seeds, sit on that, sit on the branches, and bring another seeds. That organic matter, energy is being accumulated, organic matter is being accumulated, and then over 5 to 8 years, you might have 2 or 3 trees per space, and then eventually, in 25 years, the whole space will be full of trees, and 50 to 150 years, sometimes even more, depends how degraded the area how the areas are, and how long it stayed degraded, how long we kept grazing animals, how long we kept degrading that area. Sometimes, as Fernando said, it takes 150 to 200, and they don't have enough strength to grow. Yeah, go on. No? Okay, that's how it happens naturally. That's how we make it happen in syntropic farming. We plant everything at the same time: corn, basil, lettuces, cassavas. So, and then in 4 months, we have the first placenta that will be harvested. And before that, we have lettuces. In 35 days, we harvest, and then we have the zucchinis, broccolis, eggplants that can be harvested in 3 to 4 months. And then in 1 year, you harvest your cassava. So when you harvest your cassava, your trees are supposed to be already in a decent size and growing at what you call placenta. You guys might have guessed why, because that's where the baby stays in the mom's womb. So most of the trees, when they're growing naturally, they always have all the friends that Fernando told. They never come by themselves. They have all the gang around them to create conditions for the next forest to come. So when we plant the whole system, we plant with everyone. I said to a few people here that I like to say that each garden bed that we make, it is like a carriage of a train, you know? And some of us, we are familiar with the first word. We have a train or metro. that everyone has a seat. Everyone sit on the train and comfortable. This train that I'm talking about, when you make a garden bed, it's like in India. One is on top of the other, and there is too many, overcrowded. We put a lot of seeds, a lot of plants, so everyone is on top of each other. And that's how we plant. So this carriage of train, all these trees here, they were planted at the same time here. And our job is, every time that we go and we interact, remember, by the being, doing, or making anything, we always increasing energy efficiency in the system. So our actions or interactions with the living organism, I'm always pruning or harvesting. It's always creating more abundance, not just for me, but for us, but for the system itself. Is that all right? The sound there, you guys can hear me?
You're making it a lot louder.
Yeah, that's all right. Mama, 40 more minutes. Okay, and you keep moving forward in succession. What happens? More trees, you keep harvesting, more different species, more complex trees will come into the systems, and then you keep harvesting, and then you get to 30, 20 years or 40 years. What happens if this tree falls down this way? A big opening will happen, and we come back to this again. That's how it happens. In Syntropic, we go over on that system of accumulation or system of colonization or accumulation. We keep planting, accumulating energy. It gets to a point where you need to harvest. Someone asked me about, that is a question that was raised twice by the same person here, yeah, about, oh, what happens when you have that red cedar or the hardwood timber there? You leave it? No, and then you chop, you harvest your timber, prune everything heavily if you want to keep the cacao there, but cacao will be old. So put everything back to the ground, use that organic matter. But when you restart again here, after all this life working above the ground and below ground, the system that you're going to create will be heaps further on succession. Instead, do you remember the other slide where took 150 years to get to this? You are speeding up the process, maybe in 20 years. You move heaps faster, so that's where we can plug into this direction of movement and interact with the living organism in a way that we are complexifying more the system, accumulating more energy, and making a more abundant every time that we interact with this, we make it more abundant. Make sense? Yes? More? Another one? Okay, we didn't even start talking about syntropic farming, and we just talking about forest cycles. So we're going to talk about a system that we're going to build. Could be a small system, a big system, but if you're going to talk about systems, they have a pattern. They need to have all the elements in place so they can function and work well. Let's say I got a car as a system. If I only have 2 or 3 elements of the car, if I only have the wheel and the seats, I'm not going to get anywhere with that car. That's not a functioning system. Do you guys agree with me? If I have a computer system and I only have the monitor and some cables, I'm not going to get anywhere with that. I need the full system, every element made of different material, different shape, working with the same function, and the idea of making the system fulfill its function. Yes? So every system has the same pattern. So we're talking about agroforestry systems, simple agroforestry systems or successional agroforestry systems. Or, I saw that in a video last week, the one that Mauricio did. There was a woman talking, the woman from Brasilia, what's her name? From Mutirão? Fabiana talking the difference between agroforestry systems and syntropic farming. I like the way that she explained. As agroforestry system, they look like a forest. They might look like a forest, but they might not have all the elements in place like the highly abundant forests have. And if you move another one, you find some agroforestry systems that they only have 2 or 3 elements, and they call agroforestry systems. And as you guys are learning here in the first day here, you can see that only 2 elements won't make a system function the way that it's supposed to function. And what is the system? What is the system forest supposed to do? Maximize energy, complexify matter. And if you have only 2 elements, imagine after I take all my timber from here, what will happen? Sometimes I end up with less energy than I had when I first started, because it's not cycling water, it's not cycling nutrients. Make sense? And then we have the syntropic or successional agroforestry. Ernst decided to change the name. Correct me if I'm wrong, Fernando. He decided to change the name from agroforestry. It's because of this, because a lot of people, they were doing agroforestry system that they were not leaving a positive energetic balance in the system when they finished the system. So there wasn't, and when he used the terminology syntropic, it is because of this. The system needs to be complex, needs to leave a positive energetic balance. So in saying that, coming back to the first slide show is, stay there. Coming back to stay there. What I said on the first slide, what is Syntropy is, in the process of being, doing, or making anything, you get more complex, you accumulate energy. Make sense? So that's why it is called syntropic. Okay? What is a successional agroforestry system or a syntropic system? Okay? It needs to produce, it's a productive forest where it follows the natural processes of life. Can I have some of that chocolate? Chocolate. Chocolati. Can I have some?
All the cacao nuts.
Ah, cacao nuts. Anyone else want some? Fernando brought some cacao from Ernst, huh? If you guys want to try it, talk to him. Yeah, let's try. Want some? Huh? Yeah, I gotta try. So, what is syntropic farming? What is successional agroforestry? It is a highly productive forest that is not producing only food for us, it's producing food for everyone. Abundance gets to a level that, where Fernando was telling me that at Ernst, papaya becomes a weed. Too much papaya, they are thinning out papayas now. Can you imagine when you get to that level? You're thinning out papayas and cacaos, but there is too much. You know? It's a highly productive forest that produces food for the wildlife, for the soil, for us, for everyone. Most important, needs to follow the natural processes of life. When Ernst had a few students for 3 months at one of the farms when he first, 2015 I think that was. And the assignment was, that's your area. I want to see what you can grow here in 3 months with no fertilizers at all. What can you do? Following just the natural processes of life. Planting really dense, we're gonna get to the principle soon, but using all the natural process. Needs to produce fruits, animals, wood, fibers. Most important, as I said, sustainability is boring. Needs to regenerate the living organism. They need to regenerate the environment. And needs to mimic the natural processes of life. Okay? And the spirit is to increase life. That's the planet's strategy. The planet is always increasing, more life. You know? Always feeds another species, always feeds more trees, always feeds another thing that we're talking is at lunchtime. What about the root system? Do they compete? There is no competition in nature. There is only cooperation. No, I know that's hard to change the length But hopefully in the 6 days, we're going to start changing the paradigms here, okay? And the idea is to integrate humans in the environment that we're working with. Because nowadays we're taking humans out of the equation. And humans are a really important part of the system. Yes? Go on. Again, forest is really abundant. And life is abundant. Another one. I think that I copied, I worked on, yeah, that was bad. Same slide, another one. So how it works in nature, how life becomes abundant. You get a really degraded area, you leave it alone. Nature, can you press again? Nature is really resilient. Nature, if you, sometimes we go through, we build roads and we stop the cycle of life. We cut life in half. Like now we gotta build a road here. That's what we do in most of the place. And if you leave life alone, the grass will start coming through, and then from that grass, little seedlings, shrubs that will become a system of accumulation again. We accumulate more life, and then eventually will become a really lush forest. That might take 500 years, but that's what will happen. And then life becomes more complex, increases and disseminates. How does life disseminate? Energy store and creates a spare substance and as a reserve. And how does the forest spare, how does it disseminates it? Through animals, through water, and the trophy chain. One animal eating another one. And then that's how it happens. Make sense what I'm saying? How to mimic the natural processes of life? We need to accumulate. Accumulate what? Accumulate organic matter. We need to plant it really dense. Really, really dense. Can you see that we're talking about the principles without actually naming them? We need to work on succession. Succession needs to happen. The fast-growing species, after they done the work, they leave the system and open space for the next one to come. And so plants self-substitute. And then increase what? Quantity and quality of consolidated life. That's really important, guys. Like quantity and quality of consolidated life. Can you guys figure out what does it mean? Energy, more diversity, quality of life in the system, make it more complex. Now we can talk about the principles.
What was that last?
That's the same thing. That's the same thing. I just using a vocabulary that you guys understand, and the function of this workshop here is for us to speak the same language. Can you see that we talk about different layers in the forest? We talk about we gotta have some leaves, some cover in the ground. But now, because after you leave here, if you end up in someone else's workshop some other day, we're gonna start talking in Australia. When I bring other teachers, I don't want to spend more time talking about the basic stuff. I only allow people to do the intermediate or advanced. If you're really familiar with, we don't want to explain to you what are the principles again. We have a layer, some layers. No, we got to speak the same language here. So we're going to leave the 6 days here talking the same language, the same vocabulary. Okay? What are the vocabulary? We need to know what is natural succession. We're not talking about, one plant comes first and that one comes to fix nitrogen and the other one comes. No, it's natural succession. There is a system, there is a science behind. It's not just theory. There is a lot of understanding here. Okay? So the principles are ground cover, maximizing photosynthesis, natural succession, stratification, management. And there is another one here that I didn't include here. I took this, Fernando was talking to me today, is the synchronization. To synchronize, we spoke about this synchronizing. How are we going to synchronize what you want with what you already have to make sure that we plug into the system and move with it? Make sense what I'm saying? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go over all the principles. Ground cover. So here we had this old macadamia orchard that was producing but no one was harvesting. And it was really old, was senescent, we had vines, and are you guys familiar with lantana?
Yes.
It's a Brazilian gift that we gave to the world. Yeah, lantana that everyone hates. That was full of lantana all over this, was like 40 trees. What we did, we put everything to the ground, can you see? Put everything down. We open a clearing. We speed up the natural processes of the life. That would happen, but it would take another maybe 30, 50 years. So more vines would grow. Yeah?
Can you point from the picture to that? You cut that and it became the one on the right?
Yeah.
Is that lantana?
No, this is macadamias.
Oh, okay.
So we chopped all. There is some of them on the ground here, as you can see there, that we used that later down the track. Yeah.
Can you just define the word senescence a little bit more?
We're gonna get to that. Let's. That's why we get slowly there. Once this one sinks in, you guys understand. But basically, to not let it pass by, senescence is tension created in the system. You know that the system. A senescent system, it's taking more out of the system than it's giving to the system. It's stagnated. There is a tension in the system. We can see that. I got to the point there where sometimes I'm walking to the forest, I can sense the different energetic balance on that forest. Oh, this is gonna fall soon. I can see there is a big tree with vines all over it, no leaves. It's just ready for and the next storm, that tree will fall. And then we'll take at least another 20 with it. And then another clearing will happen. So that's a sort of tension in the system. Probably Fernando can go talk a little bit more about senescence in the next few days. Okay? So what I did is, I put all that tree on the ground, used all that biomass, and planted another 1,000 trees here. That was like 40. I planted 1,000 in there. Using the same principle, putting one every. I didn't use at that time. I didn't put every 10 centimeters, 20. I was more conservative. I put every meter, but I feel the difference now that I put every 10, 20 centimeters. I can see that my trees grows faster. I have more biomass. I have more connected mycorrhiza, so it is better. So at that time, I planted another 1,000. So eucalyptus every meter. With acacias, with gliricidia, just for biomass. We had the margaridão, the Mexican sunflower, how do you guys call it?
Botón de oro.
Botón de oro, yeah. We planted all of them just to create more biomass. We planted some grass with pineapples, with taro, with cassava, with all the vegetables that you can imagine that was in season. There was broccoli time, like brassicas time. We planted all of them using. So that was pretty much after 40, maybe a month and a half. I already harvested all the green leaves. There was only kale and the cassava was growing carrots there, and we had all the trees small, the seeds were sprouting. But the most important here is the ground cover. I took the ground cover, that was the canopies. I put everything back on the ground. But that organic matter will decompose, so I planted other trees that will create another canopy. Yes? Keep moving.
Sir, when you're like harvesting, like the vegetables, the animals you got, and you're like, I don't know, crushing the trees that are like popping up?
No, we don't crush when you're harvesting, you leave that trees growing.
No, but like you're like stamping around, right?
No.
Oh, you got everything in a line?
It's all in line.
Oh, that's what, okay.
That's another difference of permaculture. We don't plant it randomly. There is a rule. We try to follow a pattern, and we use the
the right spacing between them, so we can maximize. We can put as many plants from that same species and the same line. Yes. So that's another type of ground cover in the forest. Canopies all over. Yeah.
You go back one step. So when you drop all these mac trees,
Yeah.
how do you get to the dirt?
It's all organized.
Yeah, but do you have to move like all the biomass multiple times?
We're gonna get to the process here. That's what we're gonna do here. Or when you're preparing the soil here, pretty much we prepare the soil first. We mark where the garden bed is gonna be. When we drop the tree, we cut the logs. We use the big logs first. Place them all around the garden bed. Put the branches on top, and then we put the leaves. But the space of the garden bed is free for you to plant. So you create that mounded shape.
Those macadamias actually like aren't in the exact area for that garden.
It is around the same area. Like one was there, I put it in here, but it's not actually in the same spot. Could be or could not be, you know. We're gonna get there. It's just like this is only about ground cover. We don't want to step over. Don't want to. I know that you guys really want to get onto planning and designing and planting, but we're gonna get there eventually. So different types of ground cover, canopies, all over. So there is no way that the sun will drain energy out of that soil. The sun will only bring energy, or at least we're gonna keep the energy that's already there. Yes? Another one? Maximizing photosynthesis. How do we maximize photosynthesis? We plant it really dense. We've been talking about that. We planted really, really, really dense. Different stratas, different life cycles, all planted at the same time. In a really in the same halls sometimes. I was, I think at your place we planted like 20 seeds every 50 centimeters or every meter. 50 centimeters was it? Like we put Aroeira, or we put Lobeira. Yeah, we put 15 seeds in the same hall every 50 centimeters of trees. And then cassava every meter as well. I know, it will blow your mind, but we're gonna get there eventually. So maximizing photosynthesis, all these trees, they will capture as much energy from the sun as they can to bring all this energy back to the soil, to turn that energy into sugars, and then goes back to that video that we're gonna see from Elaine Ingham. Okay? Do you have that video on USB? No? Do you?
No, I can make
you need
it
to
happen.
download, yeah? Yeah. So, maximizing photosynthesis, another one. We have multi-layer forests, everyone where it belongs to, fulfilling its function at their own time, and that will bring us to the next, further. Natural succession. So how natural succession happens, okay? We got this, we can pass. That's how natural succession happens, okay? Maybe the forest is moving this way, but if we can take another one more. Yes, we got grass. That grass you don't even see, but that grass is accumulating organic matter, accumulating quantity and quality of consolidated life. But you don't even see, but in between that grass, if you leave it alone, there is a lot of seeds or seedlings that's being planted by the wildlife or the seed bank that's still there. And then if you keep passing through, Scott, that inside here you see a lot of seedlings popping up, and if you stop interacting entropically with that living organism, that trees will become little shrubs, that will become little shrub forests, that eventually that will take over that grass is going to start to fade out, and then can you see how high density start getting more high dense, and then that will become a little forest, and eventually that will substitute and will become a forest. Another example of natural succession is this. Well, that's how we do. Instead of waiting 150 years, 200 years for that to happen,
And maybe in 5 years you already have a lush forest, highly productive lush forest for you to work with. And that's what we are proposing here for you guys. By understanding what? Understanding the principles. When you guys get stuck on the mindset, oh, what if that, just come back to the principles. That's how I do. And if you don't know how to work, if you're still locked in on the old mindset, I like to use my body as a living organism as an example as well. How does my living organism would copy on that situation? Okay, I always like to mirror it, like how does that living organism work, how my living organism works. If all my organs, all my elements made of different shapes, different materials are in the perfect place, I'm happy, I'm able to fulfill my function to filter that energy and work and provide more energy for everyone around me. And so if I am in paradise, I'm able to create paradise for everyone else. So when you guys get stuck on the mindset, come back to your own living home. I don't know if it makes sense for you guys, but I like to use that analogy. So that's how we could, if you come back one, that's how we could speed up the natural processes of life. Instead of waiting 200 years, 150 years, we can actually, by acting or interacting or being with the living organism, we can speed up that process so fast that instead of 150 years or 100 years or 50 years, we can get to this in 5 to 10 years. The system that I'm working at the moment, we have 1 year, 1.5, not even 1.5 year old system. The trees are 2.5 meters high. We've got a lot of eucalyptus, I just harvest my cassava. And as soon as I harvest my cassava, I realize that I miss so many more plants. So I'm going to put everything back to the ground and reset again, restart everything again. But I'm going to put seeds every meter again, a lot of seeds to work with. So, but that's how, just showing you guys that in one year, I have a really abundant system. Yeah? And then stratification. This percentage here is a little bit out. The girl who did just before I came, I thought, so supposed to be between 10 to 15, max 20% occupation. I think 20% is too much, isn't it, of emergent? Maximum.
Occupation meaning how much light it's...
Occupation of this space here.
Oh, okay. Only 20% is that?
Only 20% occupation.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And then you have the high strata that occupies 30-40% of this layer of the forest. So it means that 60% of sunlight is passing through to give more energy to the other ones. Yes? And then you have the medium strata that's 50, 60, 70%. As we spoke before, there are actually 11 different strata that are high emergent, and low, medium emergent, low emergent. So we don't want to go too complex now. It's already complex enough for us to think this information. But if we really go in, don't try to get caught on details. Say, oh, this thing, as long as it is on it where it's supposed to be, roughly, if there is not too much shade, you see that by. The only will know, I never got it until I actually see I am growing my mature system. That's the best way to learn, because you can see in other ones, but you go there, one day or 1 week or 1 month, you're not there with the system, so you can't see that dynamic of the system. As we spoke about, this is a dynamic system. Yeah?
How much does that rule of thumb principle apply to different climates? So like the dry climates in Colorado that a couple people are working on. I know Ernst is working in more of a Mediterranean climate in Spain, the savanna ecosystem. Does it change, or is it?
It changes just a little.
We need to know the prime. We need to know how is the original forest of your place. Because, for example, in my place, everybody says, oh, pineapple is low strata. And in my place, pineapple is the center of the region of pineapple, Brazilian savanna. One type of pineapple we have is ananas, ananasoides. And the commercial pineapple is ananas comossus. But if you look at the plant, it's almost, you can't see almost, it looks like it. Yeah, small difference. And we grow, And I found a huge population inside of my protected area that I worked, and it's unbelievable. I will show the pictures, and the most beautiful pineapples, they were below a forest, a gallery forest near a small river, and there were some, they are there. There are some 4 or 5 pineapples in open sky. But they are completely different from them below the shade of the forest. They are huge with fruits, completely green, and the others in open sky, they are yellow with
with marks,
spots, brown spots, dry. And then I said, oh, why this pineapple are here? Then I found coroa do abacaxi.
The crown.
The crown. Animals. The fruit, we have the savanna wolf, we have tapir, and in the open sky. Just 4 or 5 plants. And here, in the forest, 10,000 population are here. But when we see the canopy, it's not a canopy of Amazon. No, it's different. We have light passing through the canopy. But in this environment, it's really low. Then we need to know the premise. This is difficult because in my country everybody says, "Oh, this is not a forest. This is a savanna." But this is a forest. But fire destroyed thousands of years. It started with Indians in Brazil. Indians, when human being arrived in South America, there are studies that 15,000 years, 30,000 years arrived the first Indians. And until today they use fire to run. Until today. They put fire and burn kilometers because we have a strong dry season and fire floods is a big problem. But a study that made by researchers with stratigraph that open holes and look in the sediments. 2,000 years, just one event of fire. Fire is natural, yes, but fire that appears with lightning. But if you have lightning, you will have rain in the beginning, the middle, and the end of the rainy season. But the more violent fire forces are in the middle of dry season with blue sky, no cloud. Human beings destroy this subject.
So basically, we need to understand what is the climates that you work. What is the climate that you're working with? When is the rain? Because the rain pattern changes a lot. We're talking about grass. When to prune grass before the rain, before the last rain, so it has time to grow. And as I said, there is no actual. It changes a little bit because you want to keep. Sometimes when it's too hot, you want to keep more canopies a little bit. When it's a little bit in the rain season, it's you want to keep less canopy. And that's why we use a lot of eucalyptus glycida that we know that we're gonna have it prune it 4 times a year. And you guarantee that we're gonna always open for more sunlight. And a lot of the plants that we grow domestically, they come from forests that they are deciduous forests. So it opens, the canopy opens in winter. So it triggers flowering in some of these plants as well. So it's a lot of, we could go on and go about avocado. We could go on and talk an hour or 2 about avocado, but we won't have time to talk about that, so we're gonna give you principles. A good example is, I couldn't find asparagus, which strata is asparagus, anywhere. In any book I tried to put in every group that no one knew how to, where asparagus would fit on the certification. And what did I do? I said, oh my God, now I need to use my brain. Yeah, I said, okay, and there was nowhere to find. Yeah, I said, oh my God, now I'm gonna find. I went on YouTube, Google, where asparagus grows naturally. And there was not much information about asparagus. And then there was one video on YouTube, a girl in California, she was hiking
And then she said, look how amazing, I just found asparagus here in the middle of the forest. And that was me pausing the video and said, where's the sun coming from? Oh, the sun. Oh no, they are in the north hemisphere. Oh, okay, so it's getting the morning sun. You know, like for me to figure out that it was in the middle of the forest, but was getting a little bit of sun. So it is low, but not really, it's low medium strata. That's what I found. It grows in when the plants are young. That's why we put them in the greenhouse. So when they are young, they all belong to the low strata. But eventually they're going to occupy the strata when they are fulfilling their function. And then for me to find out where's asparagus, I'm still in doubt still. Like I'm growing them underneath everything. But I realized that when the cassava was too crowded, they didn't grow much. Probably they don't like to be in the full shade. But in winter, they loved the warmth of the cassava. So that's how I am finding out about some species. But macadamia is another one. There is a huge macadamia grower in Brazil. He came to me and said, go there and find a macadamia producing a lot in the wild. Where can I find this bloody macadamia growing naturally? We don't have any more macadamias growing. And then just before I came, an indigenous told me that in cairns, that's not even the natural environment, there is a macadamia producing a lot. And then I'm going to go there and check it out, take photos to send to the guys so we can put the macadamia where it belongs to in the syntropic farming system. Makes sense? What I'm trying to say? It's a lot. Don't think that we know everything. We don't. We don't. I wish that I knew and could tell you exactly how that for me, that's what makes me be more in love with Syntropy, because it's evolving. You need to think about that. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna plant corn. I got that amount of seeds. That's exactly what I'm gonna harvest. I put that fertilizer 3 times. I come here, I spray. No, that's totally different. You gotta plant corn with this, with that, and you're gonna harvest corn that time, and then you gotta have something else coming in. You need to be there watching if the corn is fading too much. You need to thin out. For me, that's the beauty of the dynamic of the system, and that's why I fall in love with Syntropy.
What we are trying to do, there is a difference between recuperation and restoration. Restoration, we use the same species of the original forest. And for example, in the national park, we need to do a restoration. If government buy the land and we have a pasture with exotic plants, the invasive plants, no, we need to plant just the native trees. But this is a protected area. We need to the conservation. It's different from agriculture. But our environmentalists, you need to plant here the native grass. No, the native grass, they can't grow up so fast like the African grass. What we are trying to do, we don't want to destroy the forests of the country. Oh, the civilizations, many people have already doing this. What we are trying to do is to create forests. But we don't have the species, the original. They go and disappear. We are trying to recuperate, to plant it. You need to know the original system. Oh, it's like this. Because the planet, 3.5 billion of years, life appeared. Plants appeared 600 million of years. Plants with flowers, 425 millions of years appeared the first plants with flowers. It's an evolution of millions of years. So nature's, no, this is words, this is not words. So let's do what works. Nature is showing to us what works. Then you just need to make a copy. If we copy the shape and the physiology, this is enough. But we need similar plants. This is high stratum, this is middle. I use eucalyptus. Then environmentalists come. Oh, you are planting eucalyptus. They hate eucalyptus. They write laws in favor of eucalyptus. Forbidden plant eucalyptus. We go to the bathroom and use eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is a sacred, sagrado.
Yeah, in Australia,
sacred plant. When in my country, there's a. So recuperation, the physiology, and then phytophysiognomy. Just this, the shape and then physiology. Then we have
and then we put food production in place.
Answer the question of Scott. How do you know? For example, we have how do you call acerola? Cherry of
Brazilian cherry.
No, Antilles. Central America.
Acerola.
Yes. Acerola. Yes. Acerola is high stratum, but just 3 meters.
Are we gonna get to that? That's the next slide. I can. If you let, it's like first slide to finish. So the next one.
So, could I ask a question about this?
Yeah.
So I'm still not clear. So is that to say that this emergent top layers, very, very top of the canopy,
Yeah.
is taking 20% of the total light?
No, it's taking the occupation of the top.
20%
of the space.
Is that the total space at that layer? So to say like...
if you have a tree with how do you say, como se fala, uma copa bem rala.
If you have the if you have a big tree with a low amount of leaf on the canopy, that there is no problem to have more. Or if you have a small tree like a coconut, that it's small.
Compared to like at ground level where everything is covered in green.
Exactly.
That's the idea of like the
having
like the coverage or the space that's occupied by
yeah,
as
he said, the physiology of the highly productive forest. When you look to a forest, or when a highly abundant forest, that's the physiology that we find in that ecosystem. So that is, as he said, there are. Yeah, when the plants are adults.
Okay.
Not when the plants are young.
Instead of total forest space, so like, is that correct? Like the whole, so if you take your forest, it's 1 hectare.
Yes.
10,000 square meters.
Yes.
The top layer should be about 2,000 square meters
Of occupation.
Of occupation.
Yes.
The middle layer should be about 4,000 square meters of occupation. The lower will be 8,000 square meters of occupation.
But remember, it is dynamic. It's roughly, it varies between 10% to 20% max, you know.
It's like a heuristic, not
yeah, it is for you to look and see, and you watching your plants, because that, as he said, that's not the original forest. The plants, they are not meant to be that plants together originally, so you're putting them together, you're domesticating the plants, so that's you need to interact with that system. Because if you don't do it, that forest will, as he said that in the forest, if you don't manage it properly, you plant every meter, that forest, the canopy will grow, will stop all the lights, the ones underneath won't get enough light, sunlight, they won't thrive through, and then you're gonna end up with one block of forest and really think, like we saw that forest that we were before. The plants are just waiting for more sunlight, and for some disturbance. So, and you guys said that there is a lot of winds here, huh? The wind's really strong here, many times, especially when it changes the seasons. That's the disturbance that happens here. When you told me that yesterday, for me straight away, that click, I always come back to the principle. Say, oh yeah, now makes sense. That's when the disturbance happens in the natural environment here. Yes, and in Africa, in savannas, you have big animals creating that disturbance. You know, through fire. Yeah, and the indigenous, they. We were at your place last year when we were looking, and there was raining a lot. When one lightning came and boom, and the fire came in, like I said, wow! And then the rain came and to cool up the fire. That was like first time that I've seen it. You know, like it was so cool. Yeah, so you see how the fire started, and then boom, and then the rain cooled down the fire. So that is this. It is dynamic. What we really want to explain to you guys is that if you mimic the phytophysiology and the dynamics of the forest and the physiognomy of the forest, you are on the right track. Okay?